Chapter 2352. Wu Dao's original body naturally knew about the characteristics of the soul lamp since they were telepathically connected. He had reached out to touch it because he wanted to see if he could withstand the strange power of the soul lamp after entering the true martial realm and forging the true Wu Dao body. Unfortunately, Wu Dao's original body could not withstand it either. Wu Dao's original body did not intend to re-enter the Avicii Great Hell for the time being if he could not wield the soul lamp. After all, that was the core of the Avicii Great Hell. Even with the prison-suppressing cauldron, Wu Dao's original body was not confident. No one knew what secrets were hidden in the Avicii Great Hell. He would explore the 16 small hells first. If he could improve his cultivation and wield the soul lamp, it would not be too late to re-enter the Avicii Great Hell. Yunju saw Su Zimo's attitude and did not say much. However, deep in her heart, she was still confused about the relationship between Su Zimo and Araki Takashi of the Demon Domain. Wu Dao's original body said, "My power is limited. Even if I can use the prison-suppressing cauldron to open a space node in the Avicii Great Hell, I can't teleport you too far away." This did not matter. As long as they could leave the Avicii Great Hell, there would be a teleportation formation nearby. Su Zimo and the other two could be teleported back. Wu Dao's original body took out the prison-suppressing cauldron and opened a space node, revealing a tunnel that led out of hell. "Aren't you leaving with us?" Mo Qing was silent for a moment before she looked up at Wu Dao's original body and asked softly. Wu Dao's original body shook his head. He had the prison-suppressing cauldron with him. Even in the Avicii Great Hell, there was no danger. He was not in a hurry to leave. Mingzhen was prepared to follow him to the Demon Domain and would not leave for the time being. Su Zimo and Yunju had already walked to the side of the space tunnel. Mo Qing was still standing motionlessly with her head lowered. No one knew what she was thinking. "Senior sister?" Su Zimo was confused and called out. Mo Qing stood there quietly as if she hadn't heard anything. Su Zimo thought about it and gradually came to a realization. He said in a low voice, "Senior sister Mo Qing has been cultivating in seclusion in the academy all year round and is obsessed with the Tao of painting. I'm sure that the experiences of the past few days have had a great impact on her. She won't be able to recover for a while." "Of course not." Yunju rolled her eyes at Su Zimo and turned to Mo Qing, reminding her softly, "Sister Mo Qing, let's go." Mo Qing Ru woke up from her dream and looked a little flustered. She raised her head and looked at Wu Dao's main body before quickly retracting her gaze and turning to Su Zimo's side. Yunju smiled and gently grabbed Mo Qing's little hand. She said to Wu Dao's main body, "Fellow Taoist Araki Takashi, I can't thank you enough for saving me this time. The mountains are high and the rivers are long. We will meet again if fate wills it." Wu Dao's main body nodded slightly. His expression couldn't be seen under the silver mask. He wasn't pretending to be cold. It was just that book immortal Yunju was too smart. If he said too much, he would inevitably reveal some flaws. "Alright." Wu Dao's main body suddenly thought of something and said, "About the secret of the Avicii Hell and my matter, I hope that you two won't tell anyone." "I won't tell anyone." Mo Qing immediately said, "I can swear that I won't say a word." Yunju was stunned for a moment. Then, she swore that she wouldn't tell anyone. She didn't say anything immediately because Araki Takashi's words sounded a little strange to her. The three of them were standing together and Araki Takashi's words were directed at the three of them. However, Araki Takashi only said, "Fellow Taoists." Araki Takashi's words were very natural. He excluded Su Zimo. Of course, it could be explained that the two of them had a deep friendship and trusted each other. However, Yunju vaguely felt that there seemed to be something else behind it. She didn't have too much time to think. She entered the space tunnel with Su Zimo and Mo Qing and left the Avicii Hell. Not long after, a crack appeared in the sky above the Shura temple. Su Zimo and the other two fell from it. Yunju's poison hadn't healed yet. Mo Qing hugged Yunju's slender waist and landed steadily. The Avicii Hell was gloomy and gloomy. The atmosphere was oppressive. They could encounter danger at any time and were in danger. After leaving the Avicii Hell, the three of them felt as if they could see the sun again. They were relieved of a heavy burden. Su Zimo took a deep breath. The endless chi of heaven and earth surged into his body as if it was real. It was like sweet dew after a long drought. Qinglian's real body crazily absorbed the chi of heaven and earth to nourish her flesh, bones, and primordial spirit. Su Zimo had been at the peak of level 2 celestial being for many years. Although he had a lot of cultivation resources, he still couldn't break through the bottleneck. In this trip to the hell, not only did he save Wu Dao's real body, but he also obtained the carefree fruit, the carefree tree trunk, and other treasures. He also obtained the inheritance of Emperor Ananda and comprehended 2 Buddhist seals. Everything came naturally. The endless chi of heaven and earth surged into his body and formed a torrent that broke through the barrier. Su Zimo's aura surged. After leaving the Avicii hell, he made a breakthrough and stepped into level 3 of the heavenly origin realm. His primordial spirit had also reached the peak of level 5 of the heavenly origin realm. The fusion of the dragon phoenix and Qinglian's primordial spirits, and the cultivation of this taboo manual, made his primordial spirit 2 levels higher than his cultivation. Now, after cultivating the complete Prajna Nirvana Sutra, Su Zimo's primordial spirit had become more condensed. If he continued to cultivate, there was even hope for him to surpass his cultivation by 3 levels in the heavenly origin realm. After Su Zimo broke through, he spread out his divine sense and searched around. After a while, he withdrew his divine sense and was slightly disappointed. He didn't see any trace of Commandery Prince Yuanzhua. This time, it was only the Great Jin Celestial Nation. Only the Mirror Moon Immortal entered the Avicii Hell, and Commandery Prince Yuanzhua didn't follow. That was why Su Zimo thought that Commandery Prince Yuanzhua might still be nearby. Now it seemed that Commandery Prince Yuanzhua might have sensed that something was wrong and had already escaped. Congratulations. Yunju smiled. Su Zimo also smiled. Looking at Yunju's feet, he asked, "How's your injury?" "It's fine now." Yunju said, "Once we return to the Zixien Celestial Nation and rest for a while, I'll be fine." After saying this, the 2 of them seemed to inadvertently meet each other's eyes. Yunju couldn't help but recall the scene in the Avicii Hell. At that time, Su Zimo had carried her on his back and their bodies were almost stuck together. There were only a few layers of gauze between them. At that time, the situation was critical and they were in hell. Although it was a little embarrassing, it was nothing. Thinking about it now, Yunju couldn't help but feel a little strange. At that moment, a strange laughter suddenly sounded. It was both near and far, erratic and with a hint of eeriness. After waiting for so long, I didn't expect that our opportunity would fall on these 3 juniors. Another voice said. The third voice sighed faintly. Although the price is a little high, no matter what, it's finally here. Chapter 2353. Su Zimo's heart skipped a beat. Yunju's expression was grim as well. She had long suspected that there seemed to be a pair of invisible hands behind the scenes that were pushing for the deaths of so many cultivators. To think that the 3 of them would be targeted the moment they came out of the Avicii Hell. Furthermore, from the tone of those people, it was clear that they were hostile. Right then, 8 figures appeared out of thin air around the 3 of them and walked over slowly. In the blink of an eye, they arrived before them. All 8 of them wore monk robes and should have come from the Pure Lands. They were extremely old and looked lethargic. Mo Qing slapped her storage bag and summoned her destiny album. She flipped it open and was prepared to tear off the drawings at any moment. Without the restriction of her essence spirit after leaving the Avicii Hell, Mo Qing could release the combat strength of a perfected immortal. Mo Qing had poured all of her heart and soul into this picture album. Yunju once said that if Mo Qing was truly enraged and tore all the drawings on the album, the living beings within would be released and it would be a terrifying army of living beings. Even if the remaining 3 fairies joined forces, they would have to avoid it. Junior, give up. Your methods are child's play before us. A monk spoke up and said indifferently. At the same time, the void behind the monk collapsed and a grotto heaven appeared. It shone with a Buddhist light and Sanskrit chants could be heard with a terrifying aura. A heavenly king of the Buddhist sects. The 2 fairies' expressions changed starkly. A heavenly king of the Buddhist sects was equivalent to an immortal king. Only immortal kings could release grotto heavens. The drawings in Nemo Ching's hands fluttered one after another, as though they could sense the powerful aura of the grotto heaven behind the heavenly king and were trembling slightly. Boom! The void behind another monk collapsed as well, and a grotto heaven appeared. The second heavenly king of the Buddhist sects. Boom! 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 A series of deafening sounds echoed. All 8 monks released their grotto heavens and trapped Su Zimo and the other 2 within. Even a single grotto heaven could suppress perfected immortals and crush heavenly immortals, let alone 8 grotto heavens at the same time. The divine might surged and was unstoppable. Mo Qing could still hold on, but Yunju was poisoned and couldn't hold on. Under the pressure of the 8 grotto heavens, Su Zimo's body was on the verge of collapsing. He could fall to his knees at any time. What do the 8 of you want? Su Zimo gritted his teeth and asked slowly. One of the heavenly kings smiled and said, "That's right. As long as you 3 juniors are honest and tell us everything you know in the Avicii Hell, you don't have to suffer." Yunju suddenly asked, "Were you the ones who released the information about the Avicii Hell?" The 8 heavenly kings all lowered their heads and remained silent. Yunju continued, "You are nearing the end of your lifespan. That's why you want to obtain the treasures in the Avicii Hell to prolong your lives. However, you are too cowardly and cherish your lives too much. You don't dare to enter the Avicii Hell personally. He's afraid that he won't be able to come out after going in. That's why you're spreading this news. You're trying to lure all the cultivators to Avicii. As long as someone can leave and you force them to give you the method, you can do the same and leave hell after finding an opportunity in the Avicii Hell." A heavenly king suddenly smiled and said, "Girl, you're very smart." At this point, there was no need to hide anything. The heavenly king continued, "However, we've been waiting nearby for a long time. Over the past few days, there have been about 170,000 cultivators who entered the Avicii Hell. However, only the 3 of you were able to leave alive. I believe that something extremely interesting must have happened to the 3 of you. This might involve some secrets of the Avicii Hell." Su Zimo surveyed her surroundings and looked at the 8 heavenly kings with a cold gaze. She said in a deep voice, "That's why the 8 of you didn't hesitate to kill 170,000 cultivators to extend your lives. Aren't you afraid of karma after cultivating to such an extent?" "Junior, watch your tone." A heavenly king said coldly, "These cultivators entered the Avicii Hell because of their greed. What does the karma of these people have to do with us?" "That's right." Another heavenly king said, "If the 8 of us can successfully extend our lives, even if they sacrifice themselves, they will die a worthy death. The Pure Land of Bliss will have 8 more heavenly kings in the future and can protect more living beings." "Hee hee," Su Zimo laughed, her eyes filled with mockery. "So, in your hearts, the lives of the 8 of you are more valuable than 170,000 living beings. Isn't that so?" A heavenly king asked. "We're heavenly kings. Even if we're in our twilight years, we're still heavenly kings. What are you guys and those people? In our eyes, you're just ants." "Karma? With the karma of ants like you, how much retribution can you cause us?" "Ridiculous." A heavenly king asked, "Tell me, what did the 3 of you experience in the Avicii Hell and how did you leave? If you tell me the truth, you might have a chance to live." Mo Qing's expression was resolute as she shook her head and said, "I've already sworn a Tao oath that I won't reveal a single word about the Avicii Hell. You don't have to waste your efforts." Su Zimo and Yunju were also silent. "Then don't blame us for being rude." A heavenly king pointed at Su Zimo and said coldly, "Search his soul first. If you fail, bring the 2 girls back to the Avicii Hell. Since the 3 of them can leave alive, it proves that there must be a teleportation method in the Avicii Hell." The rest of the heavenly kings had no objections. Su Zimo's question made the heavenly kings feel disgusted. Even if the soul search failed and Su Zimo was crippled, it would not be a loss to them. With all 8 grotto heavens open, Su Zimo was only a stage 3 heavenly immortal. Even with the rank 11 Qinglian's true body, he could not move under the pressure of the 8 heavenly kings. The difference between them was too great. At that moment, a sigh came from the side. The 8 heavenly kings frowned and looked towards the source of the sound. Not far away from them, a haggard old monk with long brows stood there. His eyes were turbid as he looked over expressionlessly. The 8 heavenly kings' expressions changed slightly and their hearts skipped a beat. The old monk looked much older than them and seemed as though half his body was buried in the ground. But when did this long-browed old monk appear here? None of the 8 of them had noticed. Tombkeeper. Su Zimo's heart skipped a beat when he caught sight of the old monk. When did you arrive? A heavenly king asked in a deep voice. The old monk looked like he was only a mystic immortal. However, if he was, there was no way he could have escaped their senses and arrived here silently. The old monk replied indifferently, I've been here the entire time. The pupils of the 8 heavenly kings constricted slightly. If what the old monk said was true, it would be even more terrifying. This meant that they had not discovered the old monk the entire time after arriving here. Chapter 2354. Fellow cultivator, are you also going to Avicii? A heavenly king said in a deep voice, if that's the case, we might as well join forces. The 8 heavenly kings could not see through the tombkeeper's background, so they did not dare to act rashly. One of them took the initiative to rope him in. The tombkeeper sighed softly, you are all about to die. Why struggle? Just find an empty grave beside you and bury yourself. At this moment, the 8 heavenly kings' expressions changed drastically. They did not know when, but there were graves around them. They were densely packed and arranged in a disorderly manner. The Grand Tai Wei Mountain and Shura Temple seemed to have disappeared. It was as if they were in an endless cemetery. The surroundings were filled with the aura of death. The atmosphere was gloomy and ghostly flames were everywhere. It was hair-raising. This is an illusion? A formation? The 8 heavenly kings were bewildered. Crack, crack, crack. At this moment, the grotto heavens behind the 8 heavenly kings cracked and began to collapse rapidly. Oh no, this is the power of the world. We have fallen into his world. Only when one stepped into the emperor realm would the grotto heavens transform into a world of their own. Bo Sun's great devil sky was a world that he had condensed. Although the emperor realm and the grotto heaven realm were only one realm apart, the gap was unimaginable. Even if there were 100 or 1,000 immortal kings, they would not be able to resist the emperor realm. When the emperor realm propped up the world, the grotto heavens of all the immortal kings would shatter and collapse. These were 2 different levels of power. They were like clouds and mud. This person is the emperor realm. The 8 heavenly kings exclaimed. They did not have time to think and unleashed all their means. Their chi and blood surged, their natal magic treasures and all kinds of talismans were released at once. In front of the emperor realm, the 8 heavenly kings did not have the slightest courage to resist. They scattered in all directions. The tombkeeper walked slowly toward one of the heavenly kings and muttered softly, "Don't run. I'll collect your body." As soon as he finished speaking, the heavenly king's body stiffened as if he had suffered a huge impact. The vitality in his body rapidly weakened. The heavenly king's head tilted and fell from the sky. The tombkeeper seemed to be moving slowly, but he arrived beside the heavenly king's body. He caught the corpse and threw it into an empty grave. Time to collect the corpse. The tombkeeper turned around, looked at the back of the other heavenly king and said softly. The heavenly king's body trembled. In the blink of an eye, the aura of death filled his body. He died and fell into the same empty grave. When Su Zimo, Mo Qing and Yun Zhu saw this, their faces were filled with shock. The heavenly king of Buddhism, a powerhouse who stood at the peak of the upper realm, was like an ant in front of this tombkeeper. The tombkeeper didn't even make a move. With just one sentence, a heavenly king had fallen. Who are you? One of the heavenly kings couldn't take it anymore and had a mental breakdown. He stopped and roared at the tombkeeper. The tombkeeper turned to look at the heavenly king, a faint light in his eyes. Instantly, the heavenly king's eyes glazed over and he fell powerlessly into the empty grave, dead and gone. With just a glance, a heavenly king died. Su Zimo and the other two felt chills run down their spines. What kind of method was this? In the blink of an eye, only 3 of the 8 heavenly kings were left. However, the tomb was boundless and the 8 heavenly kings could not escape even if they sped with all their might. This was the Tomb Keeper's world. Look, there's an exit there. A heavenly king pointed to the dark abyss not far away and roared. That's the Avicii Hell. Another heavenly king reacted and shuddered. Although the Tomb Keeper's world covered the sky and enveloped this place, it could not envelop the Avicii Hell as well. Therefore, there was indeed an exit in this world. That was the entrance to the Avicii Hell. So what if it's the Avicii Hell? A heavenly king's face was pale as he gritted his teeth. There's still a chance of survival if we escape into the Avicii Hell. If we fall into the hands of this person, we'll definitely die. Let's go. The 3 heavenly kings leaped into the Avicii Hell without hesitation. The Tomb Keeper looked at the backs of the 3 of them and shook his head slightly, sighing. I'm old and my legs aren't nimble. I can't chase after them. As he said that, the Tomb Keeper walked into the distance without even looking at Su Zimo and the other 2. Unknowingly, the eerie and terrifying graveyard from before had already disappeared. Su Zimo and the other 2 were still standing in the ruins of Shura Monastery. There were no changes in their surroundings and the 5 dead heavenly kings of the Buddhist monasteries were nowhere to be seen. Thank you, Senior. Yunju was the first to react and wanted to thank him. However, she stopped before she could finish. Just as they were distracted, the long-browed old monk had already disappeared. It was as though what the 3 of them had experienced earlier was just a dream, an illusion. There were no traces left in the surroundings. Corpses, blood, fighting, nothing was left behind. However, the 3 of them knew that it was not an illusion. They had truly experienced an assassination attempt from a heavenly king and survived. Su Zimo and the other 2 exchanged glances and felt as though they had survived a calamity. Who is this senior? Emo Ching asked. Su Zimo shook his head slightly and said, I only know that he calls himself the Tomb Keeper, but I don't know his background. He had once guessed that the Tomb Keeper was not simple. However, he did not expect the Tomb Keeper to be so strong that he was on the same level as Emperor Bo Sun. Su Zimo and Emo Ching looked at Yunju at the same time. As a book immortal, Yunju knew about the history of the Heaven Realm and many experts. Yunju frowned and thought for a long time. She shook her head and said, I don't remember. I've never heard of this senior either. Tomb Keeper. Su Zimo muttered softly and looked at the Taiwei mountain in the distance. Actually, he had thought of a bold possibility. That was, the tomb that the Tomb Keeper was guarding might very well belong to Emperor Bo Sun. That was because Emperor Bo Sun was sent here back then. Everyone thought that he was buried here. However, Emperor Bo Sun had already left alive. Why was this Tomb Keeper still here? Tomb Keeper, Tomb Keeper. Su Zimo was shocked and suddenly thought of an even more terrifying guess. In a sense, the Avicii Hell could also be considered a tomb. Not only that, but an unprecedented peerless expert was buried within, the Seamless Emperor. Could it be that he was guarding the tomb of the Emperor of Eternity? The Tomb Keeper of the Emperor of Eternity. This guess was too terrifying. It could be said to be earth-shattering. However, Su Zimo rejected this idea. That was impossible. The Emperor of Eternity had fallen many years ago. Even the Emperor of Eternity had passed away long ago. Who could live until now? Su Zimo shook his head slightly and gradually put down these distracting thoughts. No matter what, this Tomb Keeper did not seem to have any hostility towards the 3 of them. Chapter 2355. Yunju said, I have to go back and ask my father about the Tomb Keeper's identity. Then, I'll go to the library to look through some ancient books and see if there are any records about him. We can't stay here for long. Let's leave first. Su Zimo said in a low voice. Although the Tomb Keeper had disappeared without a trace, the 3 of them still felt uneasy. The 3 of them immediately set off and soon arrived at the nearest teleportation formation. Su Zimo looked at Yunju and said, I'll go the same way as senior sister. You can go first. Yunju did not decline and smiled. She cupped her hands and said, I'm very happy to have met the two of you on this trip to hell. I don't know when we'll meet again." After leaving Avicii, Yunju's weakness seemed to have disappeared. Instead, she looked more heroic and carefree. Although the four fairies were famous in the heaven world, they did not have much contact with each other, let alone know each other. Although they had not been in Avicii for long, the two fairies had gone through hardships together. Naturally, they were much closer to each other. Moreover, they could see each other's character through this experience. Emoching was not good with words. She just gently held Yunju's hand, a trace of reluctance in her beautiful eyes. She had not had many friends since she started cultivating. However, after today, Emoching saw Yunju as her only confidant. During this trip to hell, not only did I meet a sister, but I also seemed to have met a. Emoching lowered her head slightly as her mind wandered. "We can still meet again." Su Zimo said, "Let's not talk about other things." At the Divine Firmament Immortal Conference, all the major sects and forces will gather. It's the biggest event in the Divine Firmament Immortal realm. Emoching's eyes lit up, and she nodded repeatedly. Su Zimo looked at Yunju and said with a smile, "At that time, your brother and I will fight for the first place on the heaven list. You won't miss it, right?" Originally, I didn't plan to watch the fight. Yunju smiled and said meaningfully, "But since it's a fight between you and Yunting, I can't miss it." As Yunju spoke, she looked at Su Zimo. Her eyes were bright and dazzling. Su Zimo was somewhat at a disadvantage. He averted his gaze and coughed softly. "If I beat Yunting up, please don't be angry." "No, it's good that you can teach him a lesson." Yunju smiled and said, "He has a proud personality. If he can suffer some setbacks, it will be a good thing." Emoching added, "Originally, I didn't like these events. I always thought there were too many people and it was too noisy. However, if Big Sister is willing to go, I will also go and take a look." "Alright, let's part ways here. We'll catch up another day." Yunju cupped his fists and bade farewell. Then, he turned around and stepped into the teleportation formation, leaving in a carefree manner. "Senior sister, let's go," Su Zimo said and stepped into the teleportation portal. Emoching nodded and stepped in as well. The two of them activated the transmission array and returned to Cosmos Academy. Avicii Hell. The three heavenly kings of Buddhism fell as if they had fallen into a huge and complicated maze. There were tunnels everywhere. Some passageways led to dead ends, while others led to more passageways. The three heavenly kings were trapped in this place and could not walk out at all. They kept going in circles. That was not the most terrifying thing. What was even more frightening was that there was a kind of strange ant that appeared in this tunnel. It had formed a small group of ants and attacked them. The three heavenly kings joined forces and barely managed to hold on. However, they could not use their essence spirits here and could only rely on their bodies and blood chi. If a few more such ant colonies were to appear, they would not be able to hold on for long. Furthermore, the ants were getting stronger. Initially, the ants that appeared only felt an itch when they bit their bodies. However, in the end, there were already ants that could bite through their flesh. If there were tens or billions of such ants, the three of them would probably be gnawed until only their bones were left in less than 15 minutes. The three heavenly kings scurried around in the maze but could not find a way out. Before long, the three heavenly kings arrived at the end of a tunnel. The three of them could only turn back. However, the moment they turned, they saw a gigantic ant colony surging towards them like a gigantic black torrent that was unstoppable. With nowhere to retreat, the three heavenly kings roared and channeled their blood chi to fight with all their might. However, the three of them were incomparably tiny against the black torrent. In just a few breaths, their figures were drowned. Hell ants crawled all over their bodies and gnawed on their flesh continuously. In the blink of an eye, the three of them were covered in wounds and blood flowed profusely. The furious roars of the three gradually turned into miserable shrieks. The trio's chi and blood rapidly declined. Even heavenly kings could not defend against the encirclement of so many living beings of hell. Furthermore, the three heavenly kings were already in their twilight years. Just as they were in despair, the black torrent on their bodies retreated rapidly and disappeared. The three of them could only sprawl on the ground and could not even stand. Many parts of their bodies were gnawed by the hell ants until their bones were revealed. It was a shocking sight. Their internal organs had been bitten full of holes by the hell ants. What's wrong? What happened? The three heavenly kings panted heavily and tried their best to raise their heads to see what was happening. In their blurry vision, two figures walked over slowly from the other end of the tunnel. The person in the lead wore purple robes and a silver mask on his face. Like an emissary from the depths of hell, he exuded a sinister aura. It was as though the appearance of that person was the reason why the terrifying ant swarm disappeared. Behind the purple-robed man was a young monk. "Why, you are a disciple of Multiple Rumors Monastery." One of the heavenly kings recognized the young monk's robes and tried his best to extend his arm while panting. "I'm Multiple Rumors Monastery's heavenly king Bukong. Save me." As a heavenly king of Multiple Rumors Monastery, he naturally could not recognize an ordinary disciple like the young monk. However, he believed that any disciple of Multiple Rumors Monastery would definitely recognize him. The young monk lowered his head in silence. "Fellow Taoist, please save us." The other heavenly king struggled and crawled slowly, wanting to approach the purple-robed man. Suddenly, the purple-robed man spoke. "I've asked before, aren't you afraid of karma after cultivating to this extent?" The three heavenly kings were stunned. That sentence did sound familiar, as though they had heard it somewhere not long ago. However, the three of them were battered from the attack of the hell ants and were in unbearable pain. Their minds were in a mess and they could not recall anything for a moment. "That's good as well. I'll let you guys die with understanding." As the purple-robed man spoke, he reached out and removed the mask on his face, revealing a handsome face. "It's you!" The three heavenly kings' pupils constricted as though they had seen a ghost. At that moment, the fear that the purple-robed man brought to them was even greater than the ant swarm in hell. Wu Dao's true body put on the silver mask once more and turned to leave, saying indifferently, "Karma is a cycle. What goes around comes around." Under the gazes of the three heavenly kings, Wu Dao's true body gradually disappeared at the end of the tunnel. Before long, their visions were filled by the black torrent once more. Chapter 2356. Qiankuan Academy. In a secret chamber on the top floor of the secret pavilion, the fragrance of herbs filled the air. Elder Xian sat cross-legged on the couch, his eyes closed as he recuperated. He looked pale and his aura was weak. Suddenly, another person appeared in the secret chamber. It was the Academy Patriarch. "How do you feel after resting for a few days?" The Academy Patriarch asked. "I won't die." Elder Xian didn't open his eyes and said casually. Then he asked, "Any news about Su Zimo? He should have entered hell, but we don't know if he's dead or alive." The Academy Patriarch said, "Have any living beings emerged from the Avicii hell over the past few days?" Elder Xian asked. The Academy Patriarch shook his head slightly. "You don't seem worried?" Elder Xian didn't open his eyes, but he seemed to be able to sense the Academy Patriarch's thoughts. "There's no point in worrying." The Academy Patriarch said, "Moreover, I just divined Su Zimo's fortune. His divination has turned misfortune into fortune." "That's good." Elder Xian nodded. The secret chamber became quiet again. After a while, Elder Xian suddenly asked, "Have you found out anything about that long-browed old monk?" "I'm not sure. I can't divine anything." The Academy Patriarch shook his head. "It's normal that you can't divine someone who can see through my paradise." Elder Xian didn't ask any more questions after that, and continued recuperating. After a while, the Academy Patriarch saw that Elder Xian didn't speak and turned to leave. A ripple appeared in void space, and the Academy Patriarch disappeared. Elder Xian slowly opened his eyes at this moment. He looked expressionlessly in the direction where the Academy Patriarch had disappeared. He looked for a while, and no one knew what he was thinking. After a long while, Elder Xian took a deep breath and closed his eyes to continue recuperating. Academy Inner Sect, Qingyun Cave Abode. Fang Qingyun sat in the middle and gently rubbed his forehead. No one knew what he was thinking. "Senior Fang, is there something on your mind?" Not far away, an inner sect disciple of the academy asked. He was a rank 6 heavenly immortal called Changqi, and was usually very close to Fang Qingyun. Fang Qingyun indeed had something on his mind. This matter made him rather irritable. A few days ago, he received a message from Commandery Prince Yuanzhua that the 4 forces had been completely annihilated. Even Tang Peng had died on the Grand Tai Wei Mountain. Su Zimo fled into the Avicii Hell, and the others chased after him. Since there had been no news from him for the past few days, he was most likely dead. Moreover, as time passed, the various forces in the heaven realm gradually realized that none of the cultivators who entered the Avicii Hell could come out alive. Many experts gradually realized that the Avicii Hell might be a trap. Subsequently, they forbade their disciples from exploring it. If Su Zimo had escaped into the Avicii Hell, he would have died. But the price this time was too great. Tang Peng had followed him in the inner sect for many years. Who would have thought that he would die outside this time? While feeling sad, Fang Qingyun also rejoiced in his heart. Initially, he thought that with the 4 major forces joining hands to deal with a level 2 heavenly immortal, it would be absolutely foolproof. That was why he did not follow them. Who would have thought that a momentary lapse in judgment would save his life? However, it was not appropriate for Fang Qingyun to tell others about this. Tang Peng had joined forces with outsiders to deal with a fellow disciple of the same sect. He could not blame anyone for his death. If news of this spread to the ears of the elders, he might even be implicated. "How's Yang Ruoxu? He's not dead yet?" Fang Qingyun asked with a frown. Since Su Zimo was already dead, there was no use keeping Yang Ruoxu alive. Yang Ruoxu knew that he had joined forces with outsiders. Yang Ruoxu's survival was ultimately a hidden danger. Changqi said, "During this period of time, we haven't found any suitable opportunities. Lu Ping and the Scarlet Rainbow Princess have been guarding Yang Ruoxu's cave abode the entire time. Even if someone leaves to collect some sect resources, there will be one person left behind. Both of them are inner sect disciples. It's not appropriate for us to barge in." Fang Qingyun said, "Can't you create an opportunity if there's no opportunity? If I remember correctly, you should be cultivating the Academy's Overwhelming Righteousness Sutra, right?" "That's right." Changqi nodded. Seeing that Changqi still did not understand, Fang Qingyun could not help but frown. Yang Ruoxu is now a cripple. The Overwhelming Righteousness sword is still with him. It's equivalent to a pearl covered in dust. Go and get it back. Understood. Changqi's eyes lit up. "I'll go right away." At the teleportation formation of Qiankuan Academy, 2 rays of light suddenly flickered. Immediately after, the figures of a man and a woman appeared on the teleportation formation. It was Su Zimo and Fairy Mo Qing who had returned from the Pure Lands. "Where are you going?" Mo Qing turned to look at Su Zimo. Su Zimo pondered and said, "I'm going to make a trip to senior brother Yang Ruoxu's place. I have to send the fretless fruit over as soon as possible." "What's wrong with him?" Mo Qing asked. Su Zimo was a little surprised and asked, "Senior sister, you don't know about this?" Mo Qing shook her head slightly. Su Zimo thought about it. Senior sister Mo Qing was in seclusion to paint all year round in the academy and was indifferent to the academy's matters. It was normal that she did not know about Yang Ruoxu's situation. If that was the case, one thing could be confirmed. There was indeed nothing between Mo Qing and Yang Ruoxu. Otherwise, Mo Qing would not have known about Yang Ruoxu's serious injuries. Senior brother Yang was surrounded and severely injured. His essence soul was damaged. Only the fretless fruit can heal him. Su Zimo said, "I'm going to Avicii this time to look for the fretless fruit." Mo Qing replied casually, as if she did not care about this matter. She nodded and said, "Then go quickly." "Where's senior sister?" Su Zimo asked. Mo Qing said, "I've returned to my cave abode." After pausing for a moment, Mo Qing thought for a moment and said, "If you encounter anything in the future or have something you don't understand, you can come to the place of inheritance to find me." Su Zimo was slightly stunned. These words did not seem to come from senior sister Mo Qing's mouth. With senior sister Mo Qing's personality, Why would she take the initiative to invite others to her cave abode? Even the Moonlight Sword Immortal did not receive such treatment. Just as Su Zimo was puzzled, Fairy Mo Qing had already turned and left. Fairy Mo Qing flew through the air, shuttling through the clouds. The snow butterfly danced beside her. The woman and the butterfly seemed to have merged into one with the surrounding nature. Junior brother Su is my junior brother after all. We went through this together. We should take care of each other in the future. Fairy Mo Qing said in a low voice. Moreover, junior brother Su and that fellow Taoist is very close. Thinking of that person, Fairy Mo Qing suddenly thought of something and said with some blame, Little butterfly, when that fellow Taoist Araki Takashi appeared, why did you fly around him and cause trouble? Normally, you wouldn't do this. It's so strange. The butterfly said crisply, I also felt the aura of my clan's demon emperor on that person. Could it be that I was wrong? The butterfly's confused voice sounded. Chapter 2357. The surroundings of Yang Ruoxu's cave abode were still dilapidated and overgrown with weeds, as though it had been abandoned for a long time. Su Zimo stepped forward and knocked on the door gently, closed the door and refused to see anyone. Before long, a slightly childish voice sounded from within. It sounded furious. Go away, go away. It's me, Su Zimo said in a deep voice. There was a moment of silence in the cave abode before the sound of fluttering clothes could be heard. The door of the cave abode opened and a child's face was revealed. It was Lu Ping. Senior brother Su. Lu Ping's eyes lit up as he shouted. Su Zimo nodded with a smile. As he walked in, he asked, How is senior brother Yang? At the mention of Yang Ruoxu, Lu Ping's face sank again. Senior brother Yang's essence spirit is getting weaker and he has been unconscious for 3 days. I don't think he can hold on for much longer. After that, Lu Ping blinked and said, If not for senior sister Qi Hong's meticulous care, senior brother Yang might have died long ago. There seemed to be a hidden meaning in Lu Ping's words. However, Su Zimo was concerned about Yang Ruoxu and did not think too much about it. Soon, the two of them arrived before Yang Ruoxu's bed. Princess Qi Hong and a boy were guarding before it. Princess Qi Hong held Yang Ruoxu's hand with a worried expression. At the sight of Su Zimo's return, Princess Qi Rainbow merely forced a smile and nodded. Yang Ruoxu's face was pale and he was unconscious. His life aura was weak. Without hesitation, Su Zimo took out the fretless fruit from his storage bag and walked to Yang Ruoxu's bed. He placed the fretless fruit beside Yang Ruoxu's mouth and scratched it gently with his fingernail. A crack appeared on the fretless fruit and the rich juice with a unique fragrance flowed into Yang Ruoxu's mouth slowly. This is, Princess Qi Hong, Lu Ping, and the other two revealed strange expressions. Although the three of them knew that Su Zimo had headed to Avicii to search for the fretless fruit, they did not have much hope in their hearts. This is the fretless fruit. Su Zimo frowned as he looked at Yang Ruoxu's face. The fretless fruit had been given to Yang Ruoxu, but her condition showed no signs of improvement. Actually, Su Zimo did not know much about the fretless fruit. It was said that the fretless fruit could heal severely injured primordial spirits. However, this worryless fruit had been buried in the Avicii hell for so many years after all. No one knew if it still had the effect of healing the essence spirit. What's going on? Even the fretless fruit won't work? Princess Qi Hong's voice was trembling as she was too concerned. Su Zimo spread out his soul and carefully inspected Yang Ruoxu's body. He said after some thought, Senior brother Yang's soul has been injured for too long, and his body has been heavily injured as well. Even if he eats the fretless fruit, his body will not be able to refine and absorb the energy within the fretless fruit. We can infuse the yuan qi of heaven and earth into his body and help him absorb it. Princess Qi Hong reacted extremely quickly as she immediately thought of this method. Su Zimo nodded. Princess Qi Hong circulated the yuan qi of heaven and earth and carefully infused it into Yang Ruoxu's body. However, Yang Ruoxu's condition did not show any signs of improvement even after a long while. What should we do? Princess Qi Hong was at a loss. Let me give it a try. Su Zimo extended his finger and gently touched Yang Ruoxu's glabella. He slowly infused a stream of pure and rich yuan qi into Yang Ruoxu's body. Before long, Yang Ruoxu's face regained some color. The vitality in his body also gradually stabilized and no longer deteriorated. It's effective. Princess Qihong was delighted. When Su Zimo saw Yang Ruoxu's breathing gradually become stable and strong, he felt slightly relieved and heaved a sigh of relief. He was Qinglian's true body. The yuan qi in his body was much purer and more condensed than Princess Qihong's. Furthermore, Qinglian was a god of the plant race. Naturally, she could easily absorb and refine the fretless fruit. Although Yang Ruoxu's condition had stabilized, there were still no signs of him waking up. Su Zimo did not stop as he continued infusing yuan qi of heaven and earth to help Yang Ruoxu absorb the fretless fruit. Right then, a series of violent knocks sounded from outside the cave abode. To be precise, it did not sound like someone was knocking on the door. Instead, it sounded like someone was slamming the door. Because of the huge impact outside, the entire cave was trembling slightly, and a lot of dust fell from the top of his head. It must be that group of people again. The boy said hatefully. Fang Qingyun? Su Zimo asked with a frown. Lu Ping said, Fang Qingyun has never shown himself. However, those who came to cause trouble during this period of time were almost all his followers. These people always find all sorts of excuses to visit senior brother Yang. In fact, they have ill intentions. Thud. The knocks sounded once more and more violently. Su Zimo was still helping Yang Ruoxu refine the fretless fruit and could not leave for the time being. Lu Ping stood up and said, I'll chase them away. Lu Ping and Yang Ruoxu's boy headed outside. Go away. Young master is rejecting all visitors. The boy shouted. Is this how senior brother Yang treats his fellow disciples? If you don't open the door, don't blame me for destroying this cave abode. A voice sounded in the cave abode. Changqi, how dare you barge into a fellow disciple's cave abode without senior brother Yang's permission? Lu Ping hollered when he recognized the voice. Fufu. Changqi chuckled. We're here to visit senior brother Yang because he's severely injured. However, you guys refuse to see him. Right now, I suspect that you guys have already killed him. For the sake of senior brother Yang's safety, the sect won't pursue any responsibility even if I barge into the cave abode. The boy was exasperated. Lu Ping said in a deep voice, We'll definitely not open the cave abode. You guys can go back. Don't blame me for being impolite then. Changqi said coldly. Immediately after, a tremendous force slammed against the door of the cave abode. Boom! With a deafening sound, the door of the cave abode shattered into pieces and scattered on the ground, stirring up endless dust. Changqi led a few inner sect disciples and more than 100 odd job workers of the academy. All of them barged in with unfriendly expressions. How dare you? Lu Ping was shocked and furious as he clenched his fists and glared. You're not allowed to go over. The boy extended his arms and stopped Changqi and the others as well. Since you guys are so nervous, it seems like Yang Ruoxu isn't dead yet? Changqi raised his brow slightly and said leisurely, However, even if he's not dead, he's a cripple. It's fine if you don't let me in as long as you hand over Yang Ruoxu's Haoren sword to me. Why should I? The boy questioned loudly. Yang Ruoxu is already a cripple and he's not fit to wield the Haoren sword. Changqi declared proudly, I cultivate the Haoren Morality Sutra as well. In the academy, I'm the only one who's fit to wield the Haoren sword. The boy scoffed in disdain. Changqi narrowed his gaze and said coldly, Slap him. Brat, how dare you mock the disciples of the academy? Immediately, more than 10 odd job workers stood out and scolded. They swarmed forward and restrained the boy, slapping his face a few times. Instantly, the boy's cheeks swelled. However, he did not give in and merely glared at Changqi fiercely. Just as Lu Ping was about to make a move, Changqi released a massive suppression of his spirit consciousness and froze Lu Ping on the spot. Lu Ping was only a rank 1 heavenly immortal while Changqi was a rank 6 heavenly immortal. The difference between the two of them was too great and Lu Ping could not defend at all. "Let's go." Chang-Chi waved and prepared to barge in with his men. Suddenly, a voice sounded from within the cave abode. "How dare you wield the Howren sword?" A green-robed cultivator walked out of the cave abode. Chapter 2358. Su Zimo? When Chang-Chi saw who it was, his expression changed into one of disbelief. "What's going on? Isn't he dead?" Several inner sect disciples next to Chang-Chi were bewildered as they whispered to each other. Su Zimo helped Yang Ruoxu dissolve the power of the fretless fruit completely. When he saw that Yang Ruoxu could circulate and regulate his breathing and his essence spirit was healing, he walked over and bumped into Chang-Chi and the others who barged into the cave abode. Su Zimo released a massive spirit consciousness suppression that surged over like a tidal wave. Boom! Chang-Chi shuddered. Su Zimo's essence spirit was already at the peak of a rank 5 heavenly immortal. Coupled with Qinglian's powerful essence spirit, the strength of his spirit consciousness was definitely not weaker than Chang-Chi's. The pressure on Lu Ping disappeared without a trace and he regained his freedom. Su Zimo's gaze landed on the boy's face and his expression turned cold as he waved his sleeves casually. The dozens of servant immortals shuddered as though they were struck by lightning and were sent flying instantly. Spitting out blood, they slammed into the walls of the cave abode and rolled down in a wretched manner. The boy was still standing on the spot, unharmed. "Junior brother Su, what's the meaning of this?" Chang-Chi's expression darkened as he asked slowly. "Senior brother Chang, he's now an in-name disciple of the Patriarch. We should address him as Senior brother Su." An inner sect disciple behind Chang-Chi reminded softly. Taking a deep breath, Chang-Chi had no choice but to change the way he addressed Su Zimo and said in a deep voice, "Senior brother Su, you have to look at the owner before you hit a dog. You hurt my men without any reason. You have to give me an explanation." "Look at the owner before I hit a dog?" Su Zimo arrived before Chang-Chi. Without any warning, he raised his hand and slapped Chang-Chi heavily on the face. That slap caused Chang-Chi to stagger and his cheekbones were almost shattered. "I'll hit the owner of the dog too." Su Zimo looked at Chang-Chi expressionlessly. His eyes were cold as if he was driving away a servant. He spat out a word, "Get lost." Lu Ping and the boy almost clapped their hands and cheered. They felt that all the grievances they had suffered in the past few days seemed to have found a way to vent. Chang-Chi was stunned for a moment. He never thought that Su Zimo would dare to attack him in the inner gate of the academy. Chang-Chi quickly reacted and flew into a rage. The fact that he was humiliated by Su Zimo in front of a few inner sect disciples and many other servant and miscellaneous laborers made him feel a rush of blood to his head. He glared at Su Zimo with bloodshot eyes and was about to rush forward to fight. "Senior brother Chang, don't be rash." Two inner disciples hurried forward and grabbed Chang-Chi's arm. "What are you doing?" Chang-Chi hollered. "Su Zimo attacked a fellow disciple in the academy and has already violated the sect rules. Don't blame me for being impolite." "If we're talking about the sect rules, you were the one who barged into senior brother Yang's cave abode first. Even if I cripple you right now, the elders of the sect won't punish me." Su Zimo said coldly with a sinister tone. Chang-Chi could not help but shudder under Su Zimo's gaze. At that moment, Chang-Chi was overwhelmed by Su Zimo's aura. Even though he was a rank 6 heavenly immortal, he felt a little weak and the blood in his body gradually cooled down. 1,000 years ago, the person before him condensed the 10th step of the Tao Heart Ladder. Not only did the 9 elders of the academy alarm, even the patriarch of the academy appeared. There was even a legacy disciple who was completely crippled because of this person. Compared to that legacy disciple, his rank 6 heavenly immortal cultivation was truly nothing. The identity of the patriarch's nominal disciple was there. Even if this person's cultivation was not high in the inner sect, who would dare to confront him head-on? However, being slapped by Su Zimo in front of everyone was too shameful. Chang-Chi was still somewhat unwilling in his heart. Chang-Chi took a deep breath and said in a deep voice, "Senior brother Su, I respect you as a senior brother of the academy and will not fight with you. But everything has to be reasonable. Yang Ruoxu is already a cripple. Why did he keep the Howren sword and not hand it over? Su Zimo sneered slightly and said, only a magnanimous and upright person deserves to wield the Howren sword. Ask yourself, do you deserve these words? Chang Chi's heart and mind shook. Su Zimo's words were extremely powerful. Like a divine weapon, it directly pointed at the Taoist heart. Chang Chi's face was gloomy and uncertain, and he wanted to retreat. At this moment, in the distant sky, many disciples of the academy rushed over. They were densely packed, and it seemed that there were at least 10,000 of them. The person in the lead was Fang Qingyun. When the people of the academy at the teleportation formation passed the news of Su Zimo's return to Fang Qingyun, he realized that something was amiss and gathered many inner sect disciples, rushing over in a grandiose manner. There were more than 100,000 inner sect disciples. Fang Qingyun had been in the inner sect for many years and was the number one of the inner sect. With a deep reputation, it was easy for him to gather more than 10,000 inner sect disciples with a single call. Senior Brother Su, how have you been? Fang Qingyun smiled and cupped his fists slightly. Although he was smiling, there were more than 10,000 inner sect disciples behind him with a menacing aura. They had come with ill intentions. Su Zimo's expression was indifferent and he did not return the greeting. What's going on? Fang Qingyun asked with a frown. Chang Chi hurriedly recounted everything that happened just now. After hearing it, Fang Qingyun looked at Su Zimo and said in a deep voice, Senior Brother Su, you're in the wrong. Junior Brother Yang's cultivation is already crippled and it's indeed unsuitable for him to wield the Howren sword, causing the treasure sword of the academy to be covered in dust. Even if Chang Chi isn't qualified to wield the Howren sword, Senior Brother Yang should still hand it over and return it to the sect for other fated people. Every single sentence of Fang Qingyun seemed fair and stood from the perspective of the academy. However, he was still targeting Yang Ruoxu. Senior Brother Fang is right. Senior Brother Yang is about to die. What's the point of holding onto the treasure sword? Senior Brother Yang is too selfish. That sword should indeed be returned to the sect. Hand over the Howren sword. The inner sect disciples behind Fang Qingyun spoke one after another, setting off a series of voices that formed an unstoppable momentum. Fang Qingyun had a faint smile on his face the entire time. He knew very well that Su Zimo was the in-name disciple of the patriarch and surpassed him in terms of status. Therefore, this matter had to be blown up. It had to even reach the upper echelons of the academy and the inheritance ground so that he could use the power of the upper echelons of the academy to pressure Su Zimo. Because of this matter, even if the elders of the academy appeared, they would not be able to say anything. Yang Ruoxu was a cripple and was indeed unsuitable to wield the Howren sword. That was an indisputable fact. Su Zimo was the in-name disciple of the patriarch, but he could not stop the trend of the times. Facing the torrential sound wave, Su Zimo's expression was indifferent as he looked at Fang Qingyun with a hint of mockery. Fang Qingyun noticed Su Zimo's gaze and a hint of uneasiness flashed through his heart. Could there be something that I didn't calculate? There shouldn't be. Fang Qingyun carefully thought it over again, but he didn't find any flaws. The Howren sword is in my hands. Whoever wants it, come and get it. Right then, a voice came from the cave that was full of vigor. Accompanying this voice was a man and a woman who walked out side by side. The woman was the Scarlet Rainbow Princess while the man was Yang Ruoxu. The current Yang Ruoxu did not have the slightest bit of a severely injured and dying state. Instead, his aura was torrential and his body was surrounded by a righteous aura. Holding the Howren sword in his hand, his gaze was like lightning as he surveyed the surroundings. Many disciples were no match for him and no one dared to look him in the eye. Chapter 2359. Yang Ruoxu had cultivated the great righteousness scripture, so he had always been open and aboveboard in his actions. He was magnanimous, and he had a chivalrous heart and was full of righteousness. As for Fang Qingyun's group, although they spoke of benevolence and morality in the name of the academy, They were actually scheming against each other with ulterior motives. Now that Yang Ruoxu had come out of seclusion with his injuries healed and was even stronger than before, who would dare to take the Howren sword in his hands? Who was qualified to take the Howren sword? The overwhelming righteousness sutra had been passed down for a long time. However, there were not many people who cultivated it since ancient times, and there were even fewer cultivators who could cultivate it to greater mastery. In this generation's academy, Yang Ruoxu was the only one who had successfully cultivated the overwhelming righteousness sutra. Although Chang Chi claimed to have cultivated the sutra, he only scratched the surface and could not unleash the true power of this sutra. As an immortal cultivator, who could guarantee that they had not done anything shameful? Who could guarantee that they had not done anything wrong? Who could guarantee that their actions were open and aboveboard? Even in the entire academy, including the many elders, only Yang Ruoxu was qualified to wield the Howren sword, let alone the inner sect of the academy. Fang Qingyun had not expected that Yang Ruoxu would recover from his injuries and return to his peak. All his schemes collapsed the moment Yang Ruoxu came out of seclusion. Even though there were more than 10,000 people, they were like scattered sand. Although Fang Qingyun was an inner sect disciple, he was no match for Yang Ruoxu, who was wielding the Howren sword at that moment. So, junior brother Yang has recovered from his injuries. Congratulations. Fang Qingyun reacted quickly and did not intend to fight Yang Ruoxu head-on. Instead, he took a step back and congratulated with cupped fists. Yang Ruoxu glanced at Fang Qingyun coldly and did not reply. He then looked up at the sky with a solemn expression. It was initially noon and the sun was high in the sky. However, at that moment, a large patch of dark clouds gathered above the academy and the sky gradually darkened. Fang Qingyun and the others were shocked when they sensed this scene. He's going to transcend the tribulation. Someone in the crowd exclaimed. That voice was like a stone that caused 1,000 ripples, and the crowd exploded instantly. Yang Ruoxu actually profited from such a calamity and took the most crucial step to step into the true self realm. How could it be that easy? Since ancient times, there have been many people who underwent the tribulation, but only 30% of them were able to survive the 69 heavenly tribulations, condense their Tao fruits, step into the true One realm, and become a true immortal. No matter what, Yang Ruoxu has made it this far. Most people don't even have the chance to pass the tribulation. Who would have thought that senior brother Yang would be the first to undergo tribulation among the hundreds of thousands of inner sect disciples? If he succeeds in transcending the tribulation, senior apprentice brother Fang will be left behind. Listening to the discussions around him, Fang Qingyun's face was gloomy. His eyes were filled with shock and jealousy. However, the strange phenomenon in the sky had attracted everyone's attention, so no one paid any attention to him. Yang Ruoxu's figure slowly rose into the air, attracting the attention of the crowd. Translator, Transin editor, Transin in front of Emo Qing's cave abode, a man stood with his hands behind his back. He was tall and straight, with sharp brows and bright eyes. He was the moonlight sword deity. Not far away, fairy Emo Qing flew over. The moonlight sword deity hurriedly went up to her with a smile. Junior sister, I've been worried about you these past few days. If you didn't come back, I was prepared to leave and go to the Avicii hell to explore. Thank you for your concern, senior apprentice brother. Emo Qing nodded with an indifferent expression. Although her words were polite, the two of them seemed to be thousands of miles apart. They seemed to be even more distant than before. The moonlight sword deity's expression stiffened, but she quickly recovered her smile and asked, Junior sister, did you find what you were looking for in this trip to hell? Emo Qing answered absent-mindedly. The moonlight sword deity's expression changed. She frowned and asked, Junior sister, did you get the fretless fruit? I didn't get the fretless fruit. Emo Qing was a little surprised and confused. She shook her head slightly, not understanding why the moonlight sword deity would make such a guess. This was indeed the truth. The fretless fruit had been taken away by Su Zimo. The moonlight sword deity heaved a sigh of relief and relaxed. She chuckled and said, I was thinking too much. Senior apprentice brother, If there's nothing else, I'll go back and rest first. Mo Qing said lightly. She was already sending him off with this sentence. The Moonlight Sword deity naturally understood, but he did not leave. Instead, he took the initiative to invite her. Junior sister, junior apprentice brother Yang of the inner sect is seriously injured and can't hold on for long. Let's go and take a look. Junior apprentice brother Yang? Mo Qing was a little confused and did not react for a moment. Keep pretending. I'd like to see how long you can pretend. The Moonlight Sword deity sneered in her heart, but she smiled and said, It's junior apprentice brother Yang Ruoxu. Mo Qing frowned and shook her head. Senior apprentice brother, you can go. I won't go. In her opinion, she and Yang Ruoxu were just ordinary fellow disciples and were not familiar with each other. There was no need for her to go. Moreover, junior apprentice brother Su had already sent the fretless fruit over. Yang Ruoxu should not be in any danger. The Moonlight Sword deity originally wanted to go with Fairy Mo Qing and watch Yang Ruoxu's final struggle. Unexpectedly, Mo Qing was not interested at all. The Moonlight Sword deity saw that Mo Qing did not seem to care about Yang Ruoxu's safety at all. Her expression did not seem fake, and a trace of confusion arose in his heart. What's going on? What's the problem? As the Moonlight Sword deity pondered, she sensed something and looked in the direction of the Academy's inner sect. She saw that there were dark clouds, surging pressure, and flashing lightning. Someone in the Academy's inner sect was undergoing tribulation. Perhaps it's Fang Qingyun. The Moonlight Sword deity thought to himself. She turned to Fairy Mo Qing and invited, Junior apprentice sister, someone in the inner sect is undergoing tribulation. Why don't we go and watch? I'm not going. Fairy Mo Qing shook her head slightly and thought, what's there to watch about a tribulation? Moreover, she did not like to join in the fun. The tribulation would definitely attract countless people, so she was even more unwilling to show up. Fairy Mo Qing did not say goodbye and turned to walk towards the cave abode, leaving the Moonlight Sword deity with her back. The Moonlight Sword deity's repeated invitations were all rejected. She felt disappointed and her smile gradually disappeared. At this moment, a stream of light sped over at an extremely fast speed. In the blink of an eye, it was in front of the Moonlight Sword deity. It was the Academy's core disciple, Shaoli, senior apprentice brother. Shaoli shouted from afar. What's the matter? The Moonlight Sword deity frowned and asked. No. Shaoli saw that the Moonlight Sword deity seemed a little irritated and hesitated. The Moonlight Sword deity looked in the direction of the Academy's inner sect and asked casually, Who in the inner sect is undergoing tribulation? Is it Fang Qingyun? Shaoli shook his head and said hesitantly, It's Yang Ruoxu. The Moonlight Sword deity's expression changed, and a sharp aura suddenly erupted from her body. She stared coldly at Shaoli and asked slowly, Who is it? Yang Ruoxu. Shaoli swallowed his saliva. His essence spirit was so severely injured, but he was still able to undergo tribulation? The Moonlight Sword deity's tone suddenly became extremely sharp. Shaoli said, I heard that it was because of the fretless fruit that his essence spirit recovered. Fretless fruit. The Moonlight Sword deity's expression darkened and she asked, Where did the fretless fruit come from? Shaoli said, It's Su Zimo from the inner sect. He was the one who condensed the 10th step of the Tao Heart Ladder 1,000 years ago and was accepted as an in-name disciple by the Patriarch. He went to hell and obtained it. It's him. The Moonlight Sword deity's eyes gradually narrowed. Chapter 2360. In the sky above the inner sect of Qiankuan Academy, 3 figures with powerful auras suddenly appeared. They were 4 of the 9 elders of the Academy, the 1st elder, 2nd elder, 5th elder, and 9th elder. Hurry up and disperse. Aren't you afraid that the heavenly tribulation will descend and harm you? 2nd elder looked down at the inner sect disciples and scolded. Many cultivators were shocked as they recalled the dangers that could happen during the tribulation transcendence. They all retreated and left the area covered by the dark clouds above their heads. The heaven immortal tribulation was the most important and dangerous step in the cultivation of the upper world. mystic, earth, and heaven immortals combined into one and fused their own Tao techniques to form a Tao fruit. Only then could they enter the true self realm. A true self realm cultivator's lifespan would increase to as much as 500,000 years. During the process of forming a Tao fruit, a heavenly tribulation would descend. The limit of the lower world was the 49 heavenly tribulations. Generally speaking, the lowest heavenly tribulation for a true self was the 69 heavenly tribulations. Of course, this was also the tribulation that most heaven immortals would have to endure. In rare cases, due to the rarity of the living being, their natural strength, their extraordinary bloodline, or the jealousy of the heavens, they could trigger a higher level of 79 heavenly tribulations or even 89 heavenly tribulations. Of course, there was also the extreme heavenly tribulation of the heavenly tribulations, the 99 heavenly tribulations. Living beings that could trigger 99 heavenly tribulations were almost all the strongest prodigies in the world. If they succeeded in transcending the tribulation, their names would definitely be recorded in history. For example, the legendary Infernal Emperor and Longevity Emperor had both triggered 99 heavenly tribulations in the past. To be able to trigger 99 heavenly tribulations was proof of the cultivator's strength, but it was also accompanied by unimaginable dangers. Since ancient times, among the monstrous geniuses who attracted the 99 heavenly tribulations, there was no lack of people who did not make it through and died. During a cultivator's tribulation transcendence, all living beings within the area covered by the tribulation clouds would be attacked by the heavenly tribulations. That was why the 4 Academy elders reminded the Academy disciples to watch from afar so that they would not be affected by the heavenly tribulations. Since ancient times, countless living beings had transcended the tribulation and left behind many experiences. During the tribulation transcendence, the person transcending the tribulation could use any means to resist the heavenly tribulations, be it arrays, talismans, or dharma treasures. However, they could not find outsiders to help them fight against the heavenly tribulation. This action would be seen as a challenge to the heavens, and an even more terrifying heavenly tribulation would descend. Not only would the person undergoing the tribulation not be able to escape death, but those who helped would also be implicated. Moreover, the process of transcending the tribulation was an indispensable part of forming the Tao fruit and stepping into the true self realm. Without going through the baptism and tempering of the heavenly tribulation, it was impossible to condense a true Tao fruit. Furthermore, cultivators could use the heavenly tribulation to refine their dharma treasures. If the dharma treasure survived the heavenly tribulation, it would transform into a spiritual dharma treasure and become even more powerful. That was why there were 7th and 8th tribulation spirit treasures. There was one thing he had to pay attention to while transcending the tribulation. Generally speaking, even if one could successfully transcend the tribulation and step into the true self realm, a cultivator would become extremely weak after enduring a few rounds of the heavenly tribulation. At this time, it was best to have the protection of experts. Otherwise, it would be extremely easy for enemies to take advantage of the situation and kill them. Therefore, the rogue cultivators in the upper realm would be extremely cautious at this step. They would look for a desolate place where there were few people to pass the tribulation. The location of the heavenly tribulation was extremely confidential and only the cultivator himself would know. For a disciple of a sky-level sect like Yang Ruoxu, the situation would be much better. As long as he transcended the tribulation in the academy, there would definitely be elders of the academy who would appear to protect him in case of any accidents. Any perfected immortal was a cornerstone of the major sects and factions and was extremely valued. Dark clouds covered the sky as lightning flashed and thunder rumbled. Yang Ruoxu stood in the air with the Haoran sword in his hand. He looked up at the heavens with righteousness and was fearless. "Come on!" Yang Ruoxu shouted. The red heavenly tribulation descended. Yang Ruoxu did not use any divine abilities or dharmic arts. He only relied on his physical body to resist. At the same time, apart from the Haoran sword in his hand, there were 7 to 8 heaven-grade dharma treasures floating around him. They were being tempered by the heavenly tribulation. Boom, boom, boom. the heavenly tribulation continued to descend. Its color gradually darkened and its power became even stronger. In the end, the heavenly tribulation descending from the dark clouds had become a dark red lightning bolt as thick as a stone pillar, smashing heavily onto Yang Ruoxu's body. Yang Ruoxu's body shook violently. He gritted his teeth and used his physical body to resist. After a while, the 9 heavenly tribulations ended. However, that was only the first tribulation, which was also the least threatening one. There were at least 5 more heavenly tribulations after that, each more powerful than the last. The Dharma treasures around Yang Ruoxu also had scorch marks from being struck by lightning. Those Dharma treasures had already transformed into first tribulation's spiritual Dharma treasures. The dark clouds above Yang Ruoxu's head changed rapidly. He did not have much time to rest and adjust his breathing. The second heavenly tribulation descended quickly. The color of the heavenly tribulation this time had turned yellow, and its power had increased by several times. Yang Ruoxu had to activate his Howren Chi to resist the impact of the second heavenly tribulation. Not long after, the second heavenly tribulation ended. Yang Ruoxu heaved a sigh of relief. There was a trace of blood at the corner of his mouth. Soon, the third heavenly tribulation descended. The color of the heavenly tribulation had turned green, and its power had increased again. This time, Yang Ruoxu had to use the Dharma treasures around him to resist the power of the heavenly tribulation. Crack, crack, crack. The 9 heavenly tribulations struck continuously. 3 of the Dharma treasures could not withstand it. Cracks appeared on them, and their light dimmed as they fell. Not all Dharma treasures could survive the baptism of the heavenly tribulation. The 4th heavenly tribulation descended. It was a blue heavenly tribulation. Huge blue lightning bolts struck down continuously. Yang Ruoxu used various mystic skills and secret techniques to resist the lightning bolts. After this heavenly tribulation, another 2 of his Dharma treasures were destroyed. Next came the 5th heavenly tribulation. Purple lightning enveloped Yang Ruoxu and did not give him any chance to breathe. Yang Ruoxu activated his bloodline phenomenon and continued to resist the heavenly tribulation. In front of this vast and terrifying heavenly tribulation, Yang Ruoxu's body seemed so small. He was pushed back again and again, but he faced it head-on and pressed forward again. Finally, the 5th heavenly tribulation ended. Apart from the Howren sword in his hand, the Dharma treasures around Yang Ruoxu were all shattered. He was also covered in injuries from the impact of the heavenly tribulation. However, he still stood with his sword and did not give in. The 6th heavenly tribulation appeared. Gray lightning with a trace of deadly power struck down violently, almost piercing through Yang Ruoxu's body. Exclamation point! Yang Ruoxu spat out a mouthful of blood and swayed. The second heavenly tribulation. Bang! Yang Ruoxu was smashed into the ground, creating a huge pit. His body was charred black and emitted green smoke, no longer resembling a human. Boom! Immediately after, the third heavenly tribulation struck. Blood and flesh splattered everywhere on Yang Ruoxu's body. In some places, white bones could even be seen. It was a horrifying sight. Su Zimo, Infanta Chi Hong, Lu Ping and the others watched with worried expressions, but there was nothing they could do. Yang Ruoxu could only endure the heavenly tribulation himself. There were still a few heavenly tribulations left. As long as he could survive them, he would soar into the heavens and become a perfected immortal. Chapter 2361. Yang Ruoxu's tribulation transcendence caused a huge commotion and alarmed almost all the disciples of the academy. Watching the process of the tribulation transcendence could allow the other disciples to gain experience and comprehend. Under the bombardment of the 6th round of heavenly tribulation, Yang Ruoxu fell time and time again and stood up time and time again. His body was battered and his injuries were worsening. He had already used up all his trump cards during the tribulation transcendence. He relied on the Howren sword in his hands, his righteous chi and his fearless Tao heart. No one knew if he could make it through. I wonder how many heavenly tribulations senior brother Yang can attract? The 6 in 9 heavenly tribulation is already his limit in this state. Any more and he will be destroyed, Finally, the 6 in 9 heavenly tribulation ended. The tribulation clouds dispersed and light could be seen again. Yang Ruoxu lay in the huge pit created by the heavenly tribulation. His body was covered in streaks of lightning and his aura was weak. He was almost half dead, but he still gripped the Haoren sword tightly in his hands. After the baptism of the 6 in 9 heavenly tribulation, the Haoren sword had transformed into a 6th tribulation numinous treasure. If there was a chance in the future, it could still reach the level of a 7th or 8th tribulation numinous treasure. As for a 9th tribulation pure yang, it would depend on fate. It's finally over. Princess Chi Hong was relieved and was the first to charge towards Yang Ruoxu. The 4 elders landed one after another. The Grand Elder extended his finger and tapped on Yang Ruoxu's body to stabilize his injuries. The 9th elder took out a few immortal elixirs and fed them to Yang Ruoxu. Yang Ruoxu was invigorated and struggled to stand up with the help of Princess Chi Hong. He bowed and said, "Thank you for elders." The 4 elders nodded slightly and looked at Yang Ruoxu with a satisfied expression. "Among the 4 of us, you can choose one to be your master." The Grand Elder had a gentle expression and said with a smile, "Among the 4 of us, the 5th elder is the strongest in terms of combat strength. Among the 9 of us, he is also the strongest." The 9th elder said, "If not, he would not be able to command the Academy's immortal army." In Qiankuan Academy, other than the patriarch of the Academy, only the 5th elder had the authority to mobilize all the cultivators in the Academy to form an immortal army in the shortest amount of time to deal with the unexpected. 5th elder looked at Yang Ruoxu and said, "Your aptitude is indeed not bad. However, the merciful cannot command troops. You are not quite suitable to enter my tutelage." From the 5th elder's point of view, Yang Ruoxu was a righteous man who liked to fight for justice. This also meant that he had a benevolent side in his heart. "Become my disciple." The 1st elder said, "I've cultivated the great righteousness scripture before. Although I gave up in the end, I still gained some insights." "Greetings, master." Yang Ruoxu did not decline and knelt down. "Congratulations. We have one more person in the Academy's place of true inheritance." The other 3 elders also cupped their fists and congratulated him. The 1st elder's gaze fell on the many inner disciples below, and he suddenly said, "Just now, there seems to be a conflict here?" Chi Hong Countess looked indignant and could not help but say, "It's Chang Chi and the others. They brought some servants and barged into Ruoxu's cave abode to snatch the great righteousness sword. Fortunately, senior brother Su stopped them." The 1st elder's face darkened. Yang Ruoxu had already entered the place of true inheritance and became a true disciple. As the 1st elder and Yang Ruoxu's master, he naturally had to make the decision for him and settle the score. "2nd elder, you are in charge of the law. How should this be handled?" the 1st elder asked calmly. Chang Chi and the others trembled when they heard this, and their faces turned ashen. The 2nd elder smiled sinisterly and said slowly, "Chang Chi violated the sect rules. I can spare your life, but your cultivation must be crippled and expelled from the Academy. The other 5 inner disciples will be demoted to immortal servants and can no longer enter the inner sect. The remaining immortal servants and servants will all be expelled from the Academy." Crippling one's cultivation was an extremely severe punishment. It was equivalent to Chang Chi's many years of cultivation being destroyed. "I was just muddle-headed for a moment. Please have mercy on me, 2nd elder. Please have mercy on me. Please give me another chance." Chang Chi knelt on the ground and kept kowtowing and begging for mercy. The 2nd elder was expressionless. "It was senior brother Fong. He was the one who asked me to." Chang Chi turned around and looked at Fong Qingyun, who was in the crowd, wanting to point the latter out. "Chang Chi, how dare you? You're still spouting nonsense at a time like this." Fong Qingyun shouted and interrupted Chang Chi's words. The 2nd elder frowned slightly. He naturally knew what Chang Chi wanted to say. However, Fong Qingyun was the number 1 of the inner sect after all. He was the inner sect disciple who had the highest chance of entering the true self realm, and there was no need for him to be implicated. This matter ended with Changqi and should not implicate too many people. At that thought, the second elder waved his sleeves and a divine light entered Changqi's body, crippling his cultivation. Changqi sat on the ground limply, as though he had aged 100,000 years in an instant. He looked at Fang Qingyun, who was in the crowd, and did not dare to make a sound. He no longer had his cultivation. If he said another word, he might not be able to leave Qiankuan Academy alive. After your injuries stabilize, head to the place of true inheritance and choose a cave abode. The great elder gave another warning before leaving with the other 3 elders. Many inner sect disciples looked at Yang Ruoxu, Fang Qingyun, Su Zimo and the others with emotional expressions and lamented in their hearts. Yang Ruoxu and Fang Qingyun had been fighting openly and secretly for many years. Because Fang Qingyun had the Moonlight Sword Immortal behind him, no one thought highly of Yang Ruoxu. All these years, many cultivators were unwilling to get too close to Yang Ruoxu. However, no one expected that in the end, Yang Ruoxu would enter the true self realm and become the disciple of the Grand Elder while Changqi was crippled. In this battle, Fang Qingyun had suffered a crushing defeat. Of course, some inner sect disciples knew that in this battle between the two of them, it was because of the appearance of the patriarch's in-name disciple, Su Zimo, that the situation changed completely. Although Yang Ruoxu left the inner sect and entered the place of true inheritance, everyone knew that the inner sect of the academy was going to change in the future. On one side was Fang Qingyun, who had been in business for many years. On the other side was Su Zimo, who was gradually gaining fame. Behind the two of them were the figures of legacy disciples as well. The conflicts between the academies might become even more intense in the future. Congratulations, Senior Brother Yang. Senior Brother Yang, I'm Chi Han. We completed a mission together previously. Senior Brother Yang is amazing. I hope that I can learn from you more in the future. Many inner sect disciples surrounded Yang Ruoxu and congratulated him. Yang Ruoxu looked at the smiling faces of his fellow sect members, and a hint of mockery flashed through the depths of his eyes as he felt nauseous. All these years, there was no one who was willing to get too close to him or have any relationship with him. A few days ago, his cave abode was still deserted. But now that he had entered the perfected immortal realm, he had soared into the heavens. Immediately, many of his fellow sect members came to congratulate him and talk about their relationship as fellow sect members. Yang Ruoxu held the palm of the Infanta Qihong and looked at Su Zimo, Lu Ping and his Dao child. The few of them looked at each other and smiled. Their hearts were firm, and all their friendship was expressed in silence. Chapter 2362. As a bystander, Su Zimo could naturally tell that the relationship between Yang Ruoxu and the Scarlet Rainbow Princess had warmed up rapidly and exceeded that of fellow sect members. That was not hard to imagine. When Yang Ruoxu was severely injured, he could not help but be moved by the meticulous care of a woman like the Scarlet Rainbow Princess. Yang Ruoxu was an upright and righteous person to begin with. The more the Scarlet Rainbow Princess knew about him, the more she admired him. It was only logical for the two of them to adore each other after spending so much time together. If the two of them could succeed and become Dao companions, Su Zimo would be happy for them from the bottom of his heart. Once this matter was settled, Qiankuan Academy would return to a long period of peace. Su Zimo returned to his cave abode and prepared to enter seclusion once more. Before his seclusion, he opened up a small outdoor courtyard in the depths of his cave abode and planted the worryless tree that he found in the Avicii Hell. Qinglian's true body could absorb large amounts of heaven and earth essence qi and gather it in this cave abode. While nourishing her body and bloodline, it would also nourish the worryless tree. It was still unknown if the worryless tree could be revived. However, he had to give it a try no matter what. After everything was prepared, Su Zimo closed his cave abode and entered seclusion cultivation. Avicii Hell. After confirming that Qinglian's true body had settled down, Wu Dao's true body prepared to leave and return to the Fiend region. This time round he brought Ming Zhen with him. At that time he would meet up with Yan Beichen. The three of them from Tianhuang mainland would naturally have to have a good drink after reuniting. Wu Dao's true body summoned the hell-suppressing tripod and tore through the void to leave the Avicii hell. The moment he arrived above Shura Monastery, Mingzhen sensed the heaven and earth essence chi once more and broke through the barrier of the divine essence realm right away, about to become a heaven immortal. He was a level 9 earth immortal to begin with and had also received the inheritance of Emperor Ananda. He was well prepared and had not broken through the entire time because he was in the Avicii hell. Wu Dao's true body guarded by the side and raised his head slightly at the same time, gazing at the skies. The Avicii hell was a world of its own and could even block the descent of the heavenly tribulations. At that moment, after Wu Dao's true body appeared, there was still no heavenly tribulation. The existence of Wu Dao's true body was originally an anomaly. Back in Tianhuang mainland, Wu Dao's original body had fought against the guiding force of the upper realm for Ji Yaoxue and other old friends of Tianhuang mainland. He faked his death using the heavenly punishment and stayed on Tianhuang mainland for thousands of years. At this moment, as long as Wu Dao retracted his aura and did not release the spiritual sense of the true martial realm, he would be able to deceive everyone and avoid the heavenly tribulation. Wu Dao carefully released a wisp of true martial realm divine sense. As expected, in the blink of an eye, the color of the sky changed greatly and the wind howled. Dark clouds covered the sky above the Shura temple and the world quickly darkened. The pressure was terrifying. Wu Dao's main body hurriedly restrained his aura and withdrew his divine sense. However, the tribulation clouds still did not disperse. There seemed to be a pair of eyes hidden within, looking down from above and inspecting the living beings in this area. Wu Dao's body was like an old monk in meditation. His martial spirit in his sea of consciousness was silent. A moment later, the tribulation clouds in the skies gradually dispersed, as though the pair of eyes did not notice anything unusual. For Wu Dao's main body, the tribulation transcendence was not urgent. Furthermore, Mingzhen was breaking through beside him. If he were to undergo the tribulation now, Mingzhen would be the first to be struck to death by the heavenly tribulation. Before long, Mingzhen successfully entered the heavenly essence realm. After stabilizing his cultivation realm, he opened his eyes and heaved a sigh of relief. Wu Dao's main body brought Mingzhen to the nearest teleportation formation to return to Tianhuang sect. Tianhuang sect, Fiend region. Thousands of cultivators gathered in the square outside the Tianhuang Grand Hall. Most of them were mystic immortals and earth immortals. They were battered and covered in injuries with panicked expressions. Furthermore, none of them were cultivators of Tianhuang sect. The heavenly wolf took on the form of Qingren and sat boldly in the main hall of Tianhuang sect. 8 heavenly immortal experts sat on both sides of him. Apart from Yan Beichen, there were men and women among the other 7. All of them were level 8 and level 9 heavenly immortals. They were the 7 emotions demon generals that the heavenly wolf had recruited over the years. After returning from the Avicii hell, Yan Beichen had already recovered from his injuries by the time he woke up. With the inheritance of Emperor Bo Sun, the complete Fiend Buddhist Fiend Sutra and the Kata Saber, his cultivation speed was extremely terrifying and he was already a level 2 heavenly immortal. He was only slightly inferior to the heavenly wolf. Below the hall stood 2 level 3 heavenly immortals, a man and a woman. The man was tall and handsome. However, there seemed to be a hint of sadness and worry in his eyes that could not be resolved. The woman was dressed in snow-white robes and was extremely beautiful. Her eyes were like water as she gazed at the man with tenderness and love in them. When the 2 of them stood together, they looked like a pair of celestial lovers. However, the 2 of them seemed to have traveled a long way. They looked tired and travel-worn, and there seemed to be some injuries on their bodies. The thousands of cultivators outside the hall were also brought over by the 2 of them. "Greetings, Patriarch Heavenly Wolf." The melancholy man bowed. The heavenly wolf nodded slightly and said, "Tell me about your background. Why did you bring thousands of injured soldiers to the territory of the heavenly Baron sect? Are you going to submit to me?" The man said, "I am Gu Tongyu from an earth-level sect in the middle lands of the demon region, Zephyr Thunder Palace. The thousands of cultivators that we brought over are also from Zephyr Thunder Palace." The 7 emotions demon generals and the others did not react when they heard the words Zephyr Thunder Palace. However, Yen Beichen's expression changed. He frowned slightly and looked at Gu Tongyu carefully. The heavenly wolf chuckled and said, "The middle lands of the demon region has the only demonic tree in the demon region, the undying tree. The heaven and earth Yuan Qi is rich and there are countless rare treasures buried underground. Elemental spirit mines and ancient ruins can be seen everywhere. That land is filled with killing every day. Every day, sects and factions could be completely destroyed. An earth-level sect is nothing at all." The heavenly wolf was once the 7 emotions demon king and had followed Emperor Bo Sun to unify the entire demon region. Naturally, he knew the situation of every region of the demon region like the back of his hand. Although the Heavenly Baron sect was a Xuanji sect, it was located in a corner of the demon region and had scarce resources. Therefore it was not much of a threat. Gu Tongyu said, "The Heavenly Wolf Patriarch is right. Some time ago, the Zephyr Thunder Palace that I was in was targeted by various factions. An expert came forward and joined forces with 18 Earth-level sects to form 18 demonic armies to attack the Zephyr Thunder Palace." The heavenly wolf raised his eyebrows and said, "To be able to make 18 sects of the same level join forces, it seems that the Zephyr Thunder Palace has some tricks up its sleeve. However, to be able to summon the experts of 18 Earth-level sects, your tricks must be even tougher and your background is not small." Gu Tongyu nodded and said, "The leader is the current Supreme True Demon, Yen Zui." Supreme True Demon. Hearing these words, the 7 emotions demon generals shuddered and a trace of fear flashed across the depths of their eyes. Only the first on the True Demon ranking was qualified to become a Supreme True Demon. Among the True Demons, no one was above him. He was invincible among the True Demons. One of the demon generals sneered and said, "Since the Supreme True Demon has come forward, is there a need to join forces with other factions? He alone is enough to trample the Zephyr Thunder Palace." "He alone is not enough." Gu Tongyu shook his head slightly and said, "The palace lord fought with him and the outcome was not decided." Chapter 2363. Everyone present was shocked. Soon after, the 7 emotions demonic general came to his senses and laughed mockingly. A demonic general said, "According to what you said, the Zephyr Thunder Palace is an Earth rank force. In other words, your palace master's cultivation should be at the true self realm." "That's right." Gu Tongyu nodded. The demonic general sneered. "I'm afraid you don't know the weight of the word Supreme True Demon. The supreme will is that among the true devils, no one is a match for him. What right does your palace master have to fight to a draw with the Supreme True Demon?" You're full of nonsense. Do you really think we can't see through it? Why haven't I heard of the palace master of the Zephyr Thunder Palace? He's not even on the True Demon ranking." The demonic general sneered. Gu Tongyu's expression was calm, and he was not angry. He said, "The palace master is not from the demonic region, but escaped from the immortal region. In the 9 Clouds immortal region, the palace master was once a supreme true immortal." The expressions of everyone in the main hall changed. If what Gu Tongyu said was true, then a supreme true immortal could indeed fight to a draw with Yen Zui of the demonic region. Tian Lang pressed his hands in the air and suppressed the discussion. He said in a low voice, "Continue." Gu Tongyu said, "Among the commanders of the 18 demonic armies, besides the supreme true demon Yen Zui, there was also the 4th on the true demon ranking, Fairy Zai, the 6th on the true demon ranking, Dragon Demon, and the 7th on the true demon ranking, Demonic Blade Li Patin." Everyone present was greatly shocked when they heard this. There were already 4 experts on the true demon ranking. From this, it could be inferred that the palace master of the Zephyr Thunder Palace was powerful. Otherwise, he would not have alerted so many important figures. The 18 demonic armies attacked together, and the palace master could not do it alone. The territory of the Zephyr Thunder Palace was constantly devoured, and many cultivators died every day. Gu Tongyu's expression was sorrowful when he mentioned this. Helpless, the palace master could only do his best to help us fight our way out of the Central Plains. However, the palace master was injured in this battle and was trapped in the Zephyr Thunder Palace. Gu Tongyu used the simplest words to describe this matter. But even so, Yan Beichen could still imagine the devastation of that battle. Gu Tongyu said, "We fled all the way. Originally, there were more than 100,000 cultivators, but many of them scattered along the way, and some were chased to death. Of the hundreds of thousands of cultivators who came here, only a few thousand remain." The Sky Wolf rolled his eyes and said, "I do sympathize with your experience, but the Heaven Wasteland sect is only a Xian sect. Even if we wanted to, we wouldn't be able to save the Zephyr Thunder Palace." "Thank you for your kind intentions, Patriarch. We didn't come here to ask for your help, Patriarch." Gu Tongyu cupped his fists and said, "We only ask that the Heaven Wasteland sect can take in the thousands of cultivators outside. They all came from the lower realms and it is not easy for them to cultivate. If they were to disperse, they would have nowhere to go." Sky Wolf did not respond immediately. Since the establishment of the Heaven Wasteland sect, it had indeed treated everyone who ascended from the lower domain equally. This was a rule set by Wu Dao's true body. However, Wu Dao's true body had already been buried in the Avicii Hell. Moreover, this matter involved a lot of people. It was not a big deal to take in thousands of cultivators, but it would not be worth it if he and the Heaven Wasteland sect were implicated. The woman next to Gu Tongyu cupped her fists and said, "I am Chiu Siluo. As long as the Patriarch is willing to take them in, the two of us will leave immediately." "Where are you going?" Sky Wolf asked. Chiu Siluo smiled and said, "The two of us fled from the immortal domain and were saved by the palace master. That was why we were able to establish ourselves in the demon domain. The only reason I brought these people here is to fulfill the palace master's wish. If those people outside have a place to stay and a place to live, the two of us will naturally return to the Zephyr Thunder Palace and fight side by side with the palace master." "Good," Yan Beichen suddenly praised. He looked at Gu Tongyu and Chiu Siluo and said in a deep voice, "Fellow Taoists, where did the palace master of the Zephyr Thunder Palace come from?" "Tianhuang mainland." Gu Tongyu replied, "The palace master once told us that if there are people from Tianhuang mainland in the Tianhuang sect, they should have heard of his name. His original name is Feng Cantion. In Tianhuang mainland, he is known as the Thunder Emperor." "Indeed." Yan Beichen's eyes lit up. Wu Dao's true body had once mentioned to him about his encounter with Feng Cantion in the upper world. Therefore, when he heard about Zephyr Thunder Palace, he thought of the Thunder Emperor. The sect that the Thunder Emperor left behind in Tianhuang mainland was none other than Zephyr Thunder Palace. Yan Beichen said in a deep voice, "Fellow Taoists, don't worry. Those cultivators outside will stay in Tianhuang sect." The 7 demon generals frowned in disgust. Sky Wolf asked with a frown as well, "Brother Yan, shouldn't we reconsider this matter?" "There's no need to reconsider. I'll make the decision on this matter." Yan Beichen's tone was resolute as he looked at Gu Tongyu and Chiu Siluo and said with a murderous aura, "Fellow Taoists, I'll follow you guys to Zephyr Thunder Palace and fight side by side with the Thunder Emperor." Sky Wolf immediately refused. He had promised Wu Dao's true body that he would take care of Yan Beichen's safety. Yan Beichen was only a level 2 heaven immortal. If he went to Zephyr Thunder Palace in the demon domain Central Earth, he would be drowned in a battle of that level without being able to do anything. "Yan Beichen, I don't care if you want to court death, but don't drag us down with you," one of the demon generals said coldly. "That's right." Another person pointed at the thousands of cultivators outside the main hall and said, "If Tianhuang sect takes in these servants, it'll be inviting trouble to itself. There's no need to take this risk. Besides, since when did you, Yan Beichen, have the right to call the shots in Tianhuang sect?" Yan Beichen looked at the 7 demon generals and said coldly, "This is the rule set by the Patriarch back then. Everyone who ascends from the lower world is treated equally." One of the demon generals sneered, "The Patriarch back then has already died in the Avicii Hell. That kind of bullshit rule should have been abandoned long ago." The current Patriarch is Lord Skywolf. "Patriarch, please drive these people out as soon as possible, lest they be destroyed." The other demon generals also stood out and tried to persuade him. Seeing this scene, the melancholy in Gu Tongyo's eyes grew heavier and he sighed softly. Skywolf also fell into deep thought. Now he was free. After all these years of operation, he had already completely controlled Tianhuang's sect with the help of the 7 emotions demon generals. If he wanted to change the rules set by Wu Dao's true body, he could have done so long ago. However, he never did so. In fact, when Wu Dao's true body fell into the Avicii hell and knew that he was going to die, he undid the seal on his primordial spirit and gave him freedom. In the depths of his heart, Skywolf had already recognized Wu Dao's true body as his master. If he was still alive, he would definitely take in these people. Skywolf suddenly murmured, then took a deep breath and made a decision in his heart. Don't worry, Tianhuang's sect will take good care of the thousands of cultivators outside, settle them down, and integrate them into Tianhuang's sect. Gu Tongyu and Qiu Siluo were overjoyed and hurriedly bowed to express their thanks. A little heaven stage wolf, you really don't know what's good for you. At this moment, a gloomy voice suddenly sounded in the main hall, drifting erratically. You dare to take in anyone? I think there's no need for your little Tianhuang sect to exist. Chapter 2364. The expressions of everyone in the hall changed. The 7 demon generals stood up one after another and looked around. They released their divine senses and enveloped the entire hall, but they could not find the location of the person who spoke. However, everyone knew that the person was in the hall. All of a sudden, as if a breeze blew past, everyone suddenly felt the weight on their waists lighten. In the next moment, there was another person in the hall. This person was dressed in tight clothes and held a storage bag in his hand. He waved it in the air and looked mockingly at Yen Beichen and the others. Everyone hurriedly reached out and subconsciously placed their hands on the storage bag at their waists, but they felt nothing. Everyone's expressions changed and they were shocked. In the blink of an eye, the person had dashed past them and taken their storage bags. Throughout the entire process, no one could react, let alone stop him. If this person had the ability to take the storage bags at their waists, he naturally had the ability to take their heads. True demon? One of the demon generals was terrified and his voice trembled slightly. The 7 demon generals were all rank 8 and rank 9 heavenly immortals, but they could not see through the cultivation realm of this man in front of them. At least you have some eyesight, the man said proudly. Evil Wind, you actually chased us all the way here. Are you really going to kill us all? Gu Tongyu asked with a frown. Of course. True demon Evil Wind smirked and said with a cold expression, if you want to cut the grass, you have to remove the roots. Everyone in Zephyr Thunder Palace must die. Where's the other person? Gu Tongyu suddenly asked. Ha! A burst of laughter came from outside the hall. Another figure strode in with a terrifying aura that was no weaker than Evil Wind. Another true demon expert. The 7 demon generals exchanged glances and were secretly speechless. One had to know that Heaven Baron sect was only a black sect and did not even have a true demon expert. True demon Evil Wind laughed. Gray Flame, you're too slow. In terms of movement techniques, I naturally can't compare to you. The Gray Flame true demon did not mind and said, but in terms of killing, you can't compare to me. True demon Unholy Wind pursed his lips. That may not be the case. Let's compete again in a while. We'll attack at the same time and destroy all of the living beings in this Heaven Baron sect. Let's see who can kill more. All right. Ashen Flame True Demon agreed, his killing intent bursting forth. Wait. In the main hall, the 7 demon generals opened their mouths at the same time. A demon general pointed at Gu Tongyu and Qiu Siluo and forced a smile. Seniors, they came to us on their own. We didn't decide to take them in. Another demon general smiled and said, we do not know them at all. They are just in a corner of this demonic domain. We have not come into contact with any Zephyr Thunder Palace. True demon Unholy Wind raised his eyebrows slightly and joked, but I clearly heard that someone wanted to take them in, and the person who made the promise was the patriarch of your Heaven Baron sect. Patriarch he He must have been deceived by their flowery words and was confused for a moment. The 7 demon generals looked at Sky Wolf and repeatedly signaled for him to quickly bow his head and admit his mistake. Sky Wolf's face was gloomy and he did not say a word. After all, he was the 7 emotions' immortal king. How could he bow his head and admit his mistake so casually? Although he had once recognized Wu Dao as his master, he was tortured by Wu Dao for thousands of years before he was forced to submit. If it were in his previous life, he could kill these 2 true demons with a flick of his little finger. Now, these 2 true demons dared to show off in front of him. He had the cultivation experience of his previous life. Although his cultivation speed was fast, he was only a level 4 heavenly immortal and was no match for these 2 true demons. The situation forced him to bow his head if he wanted to live, but he was not willing to. Sigh. Gu Tongyu sighed softly and said, "These days, too many people have died. This is all because of the 2 of us. I hope the 2 of you will not implicate others and kill the 2 of us." Chiu Siluo did not speak. He only held Gu Tongyu's large hand tightly, his gaze gentle and firm. "Ha," Otsang Yen True Demon sneered. "The 2 of you and the servants of the Zephyr Thunder Palace will die without a doubt. When you came here, you had already brought disaster upon yourselves." The 7 demon generals trembled when they heard this. One of them looked at Sky Wolf and could not help but urge, "Patriarch, what are you thinking about? Hurry up and apologize to the 2 true demons." Sky Wolf glared at this person and said coldly, "Shut up." No matter what, he was still the patriarch of the Heaven Baron sect. The 7 demon generals that he had subdued dared to speak to him in such a tone. "Patriarch, in my opinion, there is no need for our Heaven Baron sect to exist. Why don't we follow the 2 true demons?" Another demon general said. "Exactly." The other demon generals all agreed. Ha! Xie Feng and Song Yen could not help but laugh when they saw this scene. The 2 of them looked at each other with tacit understanding. In fact, the 2 of them had already decided to destroy the Heaven Baron sect and kill all living beings, leaving no one alive. However, the 2 of them were in no hurry to take action as they watched a show. The 2 of them enjoyed the feeling of being high above and controlling everyone's life and death. They could watch the ants of the Heaven Baron sect fight to the death and tear each other apart. "But, do you want to betray me?" Sky Wolf stared at the 7 demon generals coldly and said slowly, "Don't forget that I've placed restrictions on your bodies." The reason why he could subdue the 7 of them and form the 7 emotions demon generals was because he had used a secret technique from his previous life to plant restrictions. Otherwise, given his cultivation, he would not have been able to control the 7 top heaven immortals. The 7 demon generals shuddered at the mention of the restrictions and did not dare to make a sound. Sky Wolf stood up slowly and looked at the 2 true demons. He said in a deep voice, "Fellow Taoists, I can ignore the people of Zephyr Thunder Palace, but please be magnanimous and don't vent your anger on the Heaven Baron sect. Ever since the establishment of the Heaven Baron sect, Wu Dao's true body did not manage it much, and the current situation was almost entirely his effort. Sky Wolf did not want to hand over the Heaven Baron sect to others. Beast, how dare you call me a fellow Taoist?" Suddenly, the blue flame true demon reached out and grabbed Sky Wolf through the void. It was as though a tremendous power had descended and grabbed Sky Wolf by the throat, pulling him towards the blue flame true demon. The 7 demon generals did not dare to move at all. Right then, a saber light flashed and was incomparably stunning. Saber intent rumbled and the boundless mortal world surged over, causing one to be filled with lust and unable to extricate themselves. Yen Beichen attacked with his saber. That was a killing move of the Fiend Buddhist Devotion Sutra. Mortal desire. The blue flame true demon had a mocking expression. How dare a mere rank 2 heaven immortal ant attack him? However, the next moment, a look of shock flashed through his eyes and he froze on the spot with a blank gaze. Endless lust surged over him. It was as though he could see himself becoming a fiend emperor and being invincible, ruling the fiend world and dominating the ancient times with countless beauties submitting to him, It was as though he could see himself leading billions of fiends to conquer the Pure Lands and the Nine Firmaments' immortal realm before finally becoming the master of the Heaven realm. It was as though he could see himself ascending to the greater thousand worlds and living eternally, all of a sudden. In the blue flame true demon's consciousness, his Tao fruit shuddered and released an endless brilliance. Tao techniques spread and woke him up from his lust. Unfortunately, he was still a step too late. The saber light landed on his face and cut through his flesh, causing blood to splatter everywhere. Chapter 2365. Wielding the Kata saber, Yen Beichen slashed at the true fiend Songyan's face, creating a bone-deep wound that was dripping with blood. However, the difference in their cultivation realms was immense and their strength was worlds apart as well. If not for the sharpness of the Kata saber, Yen Beichen would not have been able to injure the true fiend Songyan even if his slash affected his mind. A look of regret flashed through Yen Beichen's eyes. The Kata saber was stuck in the bone of his cheek and failed to penetrate the true fiend Songyan's consciousness to destroy his essence spirit. Even so, the true fiend Songyan broke out in cold sweat and retreated rapidly. He was a true fiend with a strong physique and bloodline. Ordinary heaven-grade dermic treasures could not hurt his flesh at all. However, that saber was able to cut through his flesh. What made him even more terrified was that the saber intent emitted by the slash was so strong that even his primordial spirit had almost fallen into it. If the person before him was a true fiend as well, he would have been a dead man by that slash. What's going on? True fiend Nefarious Wind frowned slightly. Yen Beichen's saber intent enveloped the true fiend Songyan entirely. Naturally, he did not sense it nor did he know what happened earlier on. That's a good saber. However, it followed the wrong master. The true fiend Songyan's eyes were filled with endless rage. His Tao fruit was filled with a powerful Tao technique and a halo appeared behind his head. The menacing wound on his face healed at a speed visible to the naked eye. Although Yen Beichen's slash landed on his face, the power of that slash was way too weak and could only be considered as a superficial wound for a true fiend expert. Glaring at Yen Beichen, the true fiend Songyan said with a murderous aura, "Aunt, I'm going to burn you to ashes without leaving a corpse behind." The moment he said that, the true fiend Songyan opened his mouth and spat out an incomparably blazing flame. Condensed with the power of true essence, it surged towards Yen Beichen in a heat wave. That true fiend Songyan was the secret skill that made him famous. To use such a killing technique like Grey Flame against a Tier 2 Celestial Immortal, it was clear that he was truly enraged and his killing intent was at its peak. The might of this pale flame was enough to burn the entire hall to ashes. After releasing the mortal world of desire, Yen Beichen's primordial spirit became extremely weak. Even if he was in his peak condition, he still wouldn't be able to withstand the power of the true demon. Suddenly, Yen Beichen's vision blurred as a figure appeared in front of him. Although the person's back was facing him, Yen Beichen was still able to recognize the person's identity at a glance. He couldn't help but be overjoyed, and his spirits were lifted. The newcomer was wearing a purple robe and a cold silver mask. Only a pair of deep eyes could be seen, and his aura was restrained. The flames swept over, but the newcomer merely raised his hand and casually grabbed at the flames. This flame was instantly crushed by the person's palm, turning into sparks that scattered on the ground before being extinguished. True Demon Grey Flame's pupils contracted. He quickly spread out his divine sense to check the newcomer's body. Nefarious Wind frowned with a grim expression as well. "Master?" When Heavenly Wolf saw that person, he was shocked as well and revealed a look of disbelief. Was he seeing a ghost? After 1,000 years, he managed to escape from the hands of his old master? Furthermore, Heavenly Wolf realized that he could no longer see through Wu Dao's true body. The Dao technique that Wu Dao's true body cultivated was extremely different from the dermic formulations of the world. Unless they fought for real, it would be difficult for others to see through his strength. Could it be that Master has already deduced the next Wu Dao dermic formulation? Heavenly Wolf was even more shocked when he thought of that possibility. When the 7 Emotions Fiend generals caught sight of Wu Dao's true body, Their expressions changed with wariness. "Who are you?" True Demon Grey Flame asked in a deep voice. True Demon Nefarious Wind said, "The two of us are here on the orders of the Supreme True Demon to hunt down a few ants. Please don't interfere." The two True Demons couldn't see through Wu Dao's true body, so they first mentioned the Supreme True Demon. Wu Dao's true body ignored the two and turned to look at Yen Beichen, Heavenly Wolf, and the others. "Good brother, you're not dead." A rare smile appeared on Yen Beichen's face. "Master!" Heavenly Wolf also walked over and called out. However, after the incident in Avicii, Heavenly Wolf couldn't help but have mixed feelings when facing Wu Dao's true body again. First of all, Emperor Bo Sun was still alive. Second of all, Wu Dao's true body had already returned him his freedom. To be precise, the two of them weren't master and servant anymore. "It's you?" The martial Dao body's eyes turned and fell on Gu Tongyu and Qiu Siluo. He was slightly surprised. "Greetings, senior." Gu Tongyu and Qiu Siluo hurriedly stepped forward and bowed. However, when they heard Wu Dao's true body's words, the two of them were confused. Gu Tongyu asked, "Senior knows us?" Wu Dao's true body nodded slightly. Gu Tongyu and Qiu Siluo looked at each other, even more confused. The two of them carefully recalled but couldn't remember the purple-robed cultivator with a silver mask in front of them. "We'll talk about this later." Wu Dao's true body didn't explain and asked, "What's going on? Why are the two of you here?" Heavenly Wolf roughly recounted what had happened just now. Wu Dao's true body nodded and looked at Gu Tongyu and Qiu Siluo. "Don't worry, since you're cultivators of the Zephyr Thunder Palace, you can stay in the Heaven Baron sect. There's no need to worry. May I ask, Senior and the Heaven Baron sect?" Gu Tongyu knew nothing about Wu Dao's true body and didn't know how much weight the words of Wu Dao's true body carried in the Heaven Baron sect. Wu Dao's true body said, "I'm the Patriarch of the Heaven Baron sect." "Thank you, Senior." Gu Tongyu and Qiu Siluo were delighted and hurriedly thanked him. Heavenly Wolf pointed at the two true demons Tsang Yen and Evil Wind and said hatefully, "Master, I've already said that the Heaven Baron sect doesn't have to take in the people of the Zephyr Thunder Palace. But these two still want to kill them. So you're the Patriarch of the Heaven Baron sect." Evil Wind suddenly laughed. "Let me give you a piece of advice. You'd better stay out of this matter lest you get into trouble." Tsang Yen True Demon said coldly, "The people of the Zephyr Thunder Palace are people that the Supreme True Demon wants to kill. Who in the demon domain would dare to protect them?" "Who's the Supreme True Demon?" Wu Dao's true body asked. He truly didn't know. Ever since he ascended to the demon domain, Wu Dao's true body spent almost all his time cultivating and deducing Wu Dao. He didn't care about the matters of the demon domain and knew very little about the many demonic cultivators. "Ha!" Tsang Yen True Demon was so angry that he laughed with a mocking expression. And here I was wondering what sort of a ruthless character he was. So, he hasn't even heard of the Supreme True Demon Yenzue. Evil Wind relaxed as well and chuckled. After all, he's a small sect at the edge of the demon domain and hasn't seen much of the world. He's just a frog in a well. I'm afraid he doesn't even know about the true demon ranking. Wu Dao's true body walked towards the two true demons and said, "I don't know much about the true demon ranking. However, I've seen the person ranked 10th on the true demon ranking." "You've seen the master of White Bone Monastery?" Tsang Yen True Demon asked with a frown, somewhat doubtful. "He's already dead." Wu Dao's true body stood 10 feet in front of the two true demons and said indifferently, "I'll send you guys to see him now." When they heard that, the two true demons felt a chill run down their spines. Chapter 2366. Suddenly, the blue flame true fiend felt his heart skip a beat, as though a calamity was about to befall him. When Wu Dao's true body said that, his tone was calm without any threat or ferocity, as though he was stating a fact. However, the more that was the case, the more the two true fiends were terrified. All of a sudden, in the blink of an eye, the two of them felt as though a figure was moving in front of them and an aura of death descended. It was sinister and chilling. Not good. True Fiend Nefarious Wind was alarmed and channeled a secret skill right away, turning into a gust of wind and vanishing from the spot. However, the blue flame true fiend was a step slower. A fist seemed to have appeared out of thin air and exploded the blue flame true fiend's head, causing blood to splatter everywhere. For Wu Dao's true body, the distance of 10 feet was covered in an instant. Wu Dao's true body did not use any divine powers or secret skills or blood qi for that speed. It was purely the burst of his physical strength. Therefore, the heavenly tribulation did not sense it either. Even so, the blue flame true fiend did not have the chance to react at all, and his head was blown apart with his essence spirit destroyed. Wu Dao's true body kept the blue flame true fiend's Dao fruit in passing. In his storage bag, there were still the Dao fruits of the Master of White Bone Temple, the 14 Bone Demons, Madame Jade Bone, Old Man Dried Bone, and the others. He could refine all of them when he entered seclusion. Of course, there were many more such treasures in the Avicii Hell. Those treasures were placed in the Avicii Hell and no one could take them away. True Fiend Nefarious Wind dodged and was scared out of his wits when he turned back to see the blue flame True Fiend killed by Su Zimo in a single move. Initially, he wanted to observe and see how strong the Patriarch of Heaven Baron sect was before making any plans. But now, there was only a single thought in his mind. Skipped. Without hesitation, True Fiend Nefarious Wind released a teleportation technique and vanished from the spot. By the time he appeared again, he was already at the entrance of the main hall. All of a sudden, True Fiend Nefarious Wind sensed a boundless power behind him. Immediately after, Wu Dao's true body arrived behind him. Pissed. True Fiend Nefarious Wind's expression changed. Even his teleportation could not shake off the Patriarch of Heaven Baron sect. Generally speaking, the distance of teleportation would not exceed 300 meters. On the other hand, a distance of 300 m could be traversed in an instant by Wu Dao's main body, and there was practically no difference. True Devil Nefarious Wind wanted to flee, but it was already too late. While he was still in midair, he released all the power of his essence spirit. In his sea of consciousness, the Dao fruit was filled with Dao arts and a halo appeared behind his head. The unholy wind True Demon made a series of hand seals, and a terrifying storm materialized between his hands. He twisted his body and blasted it toward Wu Dao's true body. At the same time, True Fiend Nefarious Wind conjured his essence spirit mystic technique. At this critical moment of life and death, he could not hold back at all. In the face of True Demon Unholy Wind's counterattack, Wu Dao's main body did not dodge, nor did he change his stance. It was still an extremely simple and straightforward punch. The essence spirit mystic technique was the first to descend. Ripples appeared on the mask of Mo Luo like water as a few strange faces suddenly appeared. Then, everything returned to normal. That essence spirit secret technique was easily blocked by the mask of Mola. Bang! The storm released by True Devil Nefarious Wind was destroyed by a single punch from Wu Dao's main body as though it was nothing. In fact, the storm could not even stop Wu Dao's main body for a single moment. The fist of Wu Dao's main body landed on True Devil Nefarious Wind. Time seemed to have frozen for a moment. A vast amount of power surged into True Devil Nefarious Wind's body instantly. True Devil Nefarious Wind's eyes widened in fear. The next moment, True Devil Nefarious Wind's body was reduced into a blood mist by the tremendous power. His essence spirit was destroyed and his corpse was nowhere to be found. A Dao fruit floated in midair. Wu Dao's main body tossed it into his storage bag casually. It was so silent that one could hear a pin drop in the hall. Heavenly Wolf, the 7 Emotions Fiend General, Gu Tongyu, Chiu Siluo and the others were dumbfounded when they saw what happened. 2 true fiends were dead with just 2 punches. However, it only took a few breaths from the moment Wu Dao's main body attacked to the end. It was a 1 versus 2 battle. It was a complete suppression. It was only at this moment that Heavenly Wolf was certain that Wu Dao's main body had already stepped into another realm of Wu Dao's. Greetings, Patriarch. Congratulations on your return, Patriarch. You've attained greater mastery of your divine technique. The 7 Emotions Fiend General hurriedly stepped forward and bowed. Heavenly Wolf recalled the Seven Emotions Fiend General's performance just now and his expression darkened. He said coldly, "Didn't you guys want to follow them just now? You even want to give up Heaven Baron sect?" "Lord Heavenly Wolf, we were wrong just now. We were confused. Please forgive us, Lord Heavenly Wolf." Seeing that the situation was bad, the Seven Emotions Fiend General hurriedly knelt on the ground and begged for mercy. "This is unforgivable." Heavenly Wolf took a deep breath and channeled a secret technique. He activated his spirit consciousness and activated the restrictions on the essence spirit of the Seven Emotions Fiend General. The expressions of the Seven Emotions Fiend Generals changed starkly and their gazes gradually glazed over. Their life auras decreased sharply before they collapsed to the ground and died on the spot. Heavenly Wolf was once the Seven Emotions Fiend King in his previous life and was decisive to kill. He definitely could not tolerate the betrayal of his subordinates. "Master?" Heavenly Wolf turned back to look at Wu Dao's main body. Just as he was about to speak, Wu Dao's main body raised his hand gently and interrupted him. "Heavenly Wolf, you and I are no longer master and servant." Wu Dao's main body said, "I know that the biggest reason why you were willing to acknowledge me as your master back then was not because you succumbed to my methods, but because you thought that Emperor Bo Sun was dead. Now that Emperor Bo Sun has reappeared, you've regained your freedom. Go and find him. I won't stop you." Given the methods of Wu Dao's main body, it would naturally be easy for him to restrain Heavenly Wolf and set up restrictions. However, Heavenly Wolf protected Yen Beichen and protected Heaven Baron sect until now. In return, Wu Dao's main body gave him true freedom. Heavenly Wolf was silent. Wu Dao's main body was right. There was no master and servant relationship between him and Wu Dao's main body. He was now a free man. Leaving this main hall meant that the sky was high and the sea was wide. But for some reason, his heart suddenly became empty. There was no excitement or joy, but a little reluctance and a little confusion. Although Emperor Bo Sun had reappeared, he had disappeared for thousands of years without a trace. Heavenly Wolf did not know where to find Emperor Bo Sun. Even if he found Emperor Bo Sun, what could he do? Heavenly Wolf suddenly felt dispirited and bored. He sighed softly and walked out of the main hall. Just as he was about to step out of the main hall, Heavenly Wolf suddenly paused, as if he had thought of something. Heavenly Wolf turned around, looked at Wu Dao's main body, raised his eyebrows slightly, and said, "Although Heaven Baron sect was founded by you, it was developed and strengthened by me. I put in a lot of effort, why should I leave? I'm not going anywhere, I'm staying here." Heavenly Wolf said arrogantly, held his head high and puffed out his chest, turned around and walked back. When he decided to stay, he felt a sense of relief, and even an indescribable joy flashed across the depths of his heart. Under the silver mask, Wu Dao's main body asked with a slight smile, "Are you sure you don't want to leave?" "I'm not leaving." Heavenly Wolf waved his hand, "I have to stay here and watch Heaven Baron sect rise step by step, and eventually become the overlord of the demon domain." Wu Dao's main body said. Chapter 2367. However, Wu Dao's main body changed the topic. "There's something you have to give me an answer to." Wu Dao's main body did not say what it was, but Skywolf knew. Skywolf said in a deep voice, "I can guarantee that I will never betray the old master. Of course, I will never betray you." The implication of Skywolf's words was that he still treated Wu Dao's main body as his master. Skywolf continued, "If one day you and the old master fight, I will choose not to help either side." Good. Wu Dao's main body nodded. Emperor Bo Sun came back from the dead and kept Skywolf by his side. He had to consider one thing. If one day the two of them fought, who would Skywolf help? This was not an unfounded worry. Emperor Bo Sun came out and sent him to the Avicii Great Hell. It was obvious that he wanted to kill him. If Skywolf still listened to Emperor Bo Sun and stayed by his side, it would be a huge hidden danger to Wu Dao's main body that could erupt at any time. Now, with Skywolf's promise, Wu Dao's main body could be at ease. Wu Dao's main body said, "I won't restrict your freedom. You can leave any time you want." Skywolf snorted and said, "Of course. If I'm not happy, I'll leave without saying goodbye to you. At that time, even if you cry and shout to make me stay, you won't have a chance." Wu Dao's main body ignored him and picked up Evil Wine True Demon's storage bag, erased the spiritual sense imprint on it, and returned the storage bags of Skywolf, Gutongyu, and the others. Skywolf looked at the corpse of the Seven Emotions Demon General and sighed. "Why are you regretting it?" Wu Dao's main body asked. Skywolf curled his lips and said, "Not to that extent. It's just 7 traitors." After a pause, Skywolf sighed again. "I originally thought that one day, the Seven Emotions Demon General would be able to make a name for himself in the demon realm and resound throughout the heaven realm. Now that I look at it, I don't have the chance anymore. Why don't you take a look at the kind of people you found? With just the 7 of them, can they kill their way out of the demon realm and become famous in the heaven realm?" Wu Dao's original body sneered. "What? You don't like it?" Being mocked mercilessly by Wu Dao's true body, Heavenly Wolf's face turned red. He straightened his neck and shouted, "If you have the ability, go find 7 people and let me see what kind of trash they are." "Seven Emotions Demon General," Wu Dao's main body muttered softly. Originally, he rarely paid attention to the matters of the Heaven Baron sect. However, now that he had stepped into the true martial realm, the level of the Heaven Baron sect had also risen to the level of an Earth-level sect. The increase in rank meant that the territory they occupied and the number of cultivators in the sect would also increase. Tian Lang alone could not manage this situation at all. Since he had to go into seclusion frequently, he should indeed gather a few Heaven's Pride experts under his command and rule the Heaven Baron sect together. Calling these prodigies the 7 Emotions Demonic Generals was not a bad idea. 7 emotions, Wu Dao's main body said. They correspond to joy, anger, sorrow, fear, love, hatred, and lust, and have their own meanings and reasons. Of the 7 people you found, which one of them corresponds to the 7 emotions? Tian Lang chuckled. "That's easy for you to say. How can you find a cultivator who corresponds to the 7 emotions and is worthy of the title of the 7 Emotions Demon General? There's one right now." Wu Dao's main body looked at Yen Beichen. "Brother Yen, there are a total of 7 titles for the 7 Emotions Demon General, and you're the most suitable for the Abomination title." Although Yen Beichen cultivated the Fiend Buddhist Devotion Sutra, his foundation was the Hatred Sutra. Hatred was also the source of his obsession for cultivation. Yen Beichen's Dao technique corresponded to the abomination of the 7 emotions. All right, Yen Beichen naturally would not decline and agreed right away. "Wonderful!" Tian Lang's eyes lit up. "Why didn't I think of such a suitable candidate before?" Yen Beichen's cultivation was not high at the moment, only a level 2 heavenly immortal, but he had received Bo Sun's inheritance and his potential was too great. Although Tian Lang was now 2 levels higher than Yen Beichen, he would definitely not be Yen Beichen's opponent in a few years' time. This candidate is indeed suitable. I have nothing to say. Tian Lang rolled his eyes and still refused to admit defeat. But you've only found one. You still need 6 more. What's there to be proud of? Wu Dao's main body said, "This one alone is 100 times stronger than the 7 you found." Tian Lang could not refute. Yen Beichen had received Bo Sun's inheritance and wielded the Kata saber. He was simply the second Bo Sun. In comparison, the 7 people he found were indeed rotten fish and shrimps. Wu Dao's main body said, "Furthermore, the position of the 7 Emotions Fiend General is no small matter. It's better to have nothing than to have something substandard." Right then, a young monk sprinted over from outside the Grand Hall, panting slightly. It was Ming Zhen. Wu Dao's main body sensed that there were changes in Heaven Baron sect and left first. He condensed the true Wu Dao body and Ming Zhen could not catch up to him even without using divine powers or secret skills. It was only at this moment that Ming Zhen finally arrived at the Heaven Baron Grand Hall. Ming Zhen. When Yen Beichen saw the young monk, he recognized him immediately and greeted him. "Patron Yen." When Ming Zhen caught sight of Yen Beichen, he could not help but smile in joy. They were both born in the same generation. Although they did not interact much in the past, They had fought side by side for the human race. Now that they were reunited in the upper world, they felt extremely close. When Wu Dao's main body saw Mingzhen walking over, his heart skipped a beat. I've already found a candidate for the second of the 7 emotions fiend generals. Heavenly Wolf followed the gaze of Wu Dao's main body and looked over at Mingzhen. Only a rank 1 heaven immortal? Heavenly Wolf frowned doubtfully. Didn't you just say that it's better to have nothing than to have something substandard? Let me tell you, since you've chosen Yan Beichen for the first of the 7 emotions fiend generals, the remaining 6 can't be too far behind even though they can't surpass him, right? What qualifications does this little monk have? He can't be the 7 emotions fiend generals just because he's an old friend of Heaven Baron sect, right? He's not qualified? Wu Dao's main body smiled. His future achievements won't be weaker than Brother Yan's. Continue bragging. Heavenly Wolf rolled his eyes in disbelief. How could a random little monk compare to Yan Beichen who received the inheritance of Emperor Bo Sun? Heavenly Wolf protested. That's not fair. I don't agree. Wu Dao's main body ignored Heavenly Wolf and merely murmured softly, I don't think there's anyone more suitable than him for the joy of the 7 emotions. When Heavenly Wolf saw that he could not change the decision of Wu Dao's main body, he rolled his eyes and came up with a plan. He was prepared to teach this little monk a lesson and take him down a notch. Heavenly Wolf strode to Mingzhen's side. Unexpectedly, he turned and glared at Mingzhen's eyes, releasing his visual technique, Eye of Fear. Once one was targeted by the Eye of Fear, the slightest flaw in one's mental state would result in fear. Even if it was just a trace, the fear would erupt and one would be unable to defend against it, resulting in a mental breakdown. Chapter 2368. A demonic glint shone in Heavenly Wolf's eyes as his pupils constricted continuously, shrouding over with an indescribable sense of horror. Little monk, are you afraid? Heavenly Wolf's voice sounded faintly, reverberating through the hall with a sinister tone. Mingzhen turned to look at Heavenly Wolf with clear, innocent eyes. Those eyes seemed to be the cleanest thing in the world, containing a mysterious might and supreme benevolence that could cleanse the hearts of all sins and ugliness. Heavenly Wolf felt ashamed of his inferiority when he met those eyes. The Tao art of the Eye of Terror dissipated silently as well. Patron, what's wrong? Mingzhen asked softly with a smile. Why are you afraid? Why don't you tell me about it? Perhaps I can help you resolve it. Heavenly Wolf explained hurriedly, I don't have any ill intentions. I merely wanted to embarrass you so that you'll back off. After saying that, Heavenly Wolf felt incomparably relaxed and delighted, as though a burden had been lifted from his shoulders. Heavenly Wolf grinned widely and laughed foolishly at Mingzhen. Under Mingzhen's gaze, Heavenly Wolf fell into a strange state. He didn't know why, but he felt incomparable joy in his heart. It was as if everything around him was so beautiful. Amazing! Heavenly Wolf tilted his head slightly and clasped his hands together, smiling foolishly with a blissful and satisfied expression. Yan Beichen felt his hair stand on end as he watched from the side. Gu Tongyu and Qiu Siluo could not help but chuckle as well. As bystanders, the two of them could naturally tell that although Heavenly Wolf's cultivation realm was higher than the young monks, the latter was not affected at all due to his profound Buddhist dharma. Instead, Heavenly Wolf was cleansed by the young monk's gaze and had already lost himself in an illusion. Gu Tongyu took out his luapa flute and swept it gently through the void. A few flutes let out whimpers that were mournful and sorrowful, as though they were sobbing. Heavenly Wolf shuddered and jolted awake. Just now. Heavenly Wolf's eyes widened and he gradually recalled his performance just now. Instantly, his face flushed red and he wanted nothing more than to find a hole to hide in. Motherf asterisk cur, this is so embarrassing. Tian Lang cursed inwardly, full of vexation. Benefactor. Mingzhen called out softly. Don't come over. Don't look at me. The Heavenly Wolf was so scared that its entire body trembled. Its huge wolf head appeared out of fear. He hurriedly turned around and ran behind Wu Dao's main body to hide. Actually, Mingjin did not attack Sky Wolf. It was only because the Heavenly Wolf harbored evil intentions that he suffered the backlash of Mingjin's Dao technique. Mingjin possessed the legacy of Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva and the legacy of Emperor Ananda in the Avicii Hell. Even the Heavenly Wolf in his previous life might not have been able to bewitch Mingjin at the same cultivation realm. Ananda was a Sanskrit word, which meant joy and joy. It corresponded to the joy of the 7 emotions. Wu Dao's true body told Mingjin about the 7 emotions demonic general and asked Mingjin to take over the position of the 7 emotions joy. Mingjin did not decline and gladly agreed. Patriarch of Tianhuang mainland, thank you for taking in the cultivators of Zephyr Thunder Palace. We still have important matters to attend to and will not linger in Tianhuang sect. Gu Tongyu and Qiu Siluo went forward to bid farewell. Are the 2 of you returning to Zephyr Thunder Palace? Wu Dao's true body asked. Gu Tongyu nodded. If we don't die this time round, the 2 of us will pay a visit to thank the patriarch. Even though he said that, Gu Tongyu knew in his heart that the 2 of them would definitely die if they returned to Zephyr Thunder Palace. Let's go, I'll follow you guys. Wu Dao's true body said casually. Gu Tongyu and Qiu Siluo's eyes lit up in delight. Qiu Siluo asked in disbelief, Patriarch, are you planning to head to Zephyr Thunder Palace to help us? The 2 of them were already satisfied that Tianhuang sect was willing to take in the cultivators of Zephyr Thunder Palace and did not dare to hope that the patriarch of Tianhuang sect would help them. Yen Beichen said, Don't worry, the 2 of you. Since the Thunder Emperor is in trouble, we won't stand by and do nothing even if we're billions of miles away from him. Back in Tianhuang mainland, it was because of the human emperor, Thunder Emperor and the other ancient emperors that the human race was able to break free from slavery and truly stand tall on Tianhuang mainland, ushering in a golden age. For Su Zimo, Yen Beichen and Mingjin, they had always felt a sense of respect and gratitude towards the human emperor, Thunder Emperor and the others. Furthermore, the people of Tianhuang mainland ascended to the upper world where the environment was cruel and cultivation was difficult. They naturally had to help one another. If the Thunder Emperor is in trouble, count me in. Mingjin stood out as well. Gu Tongyu gripped his fists slightly and asked emotionally, I wonder how many people the patriarch can gather in a day? Just the 3 of us. Wu Dao's true body said indifferently. Gu Tongyu and Qiu Siluo were stunned. Wu Dao's true body glanced sideways at the Heavenly Wolf standing behind him. For if you include him. Gu Tongyu and Qiu Siluo exchanged glances. Just now, their excitement was fading and their emotions were sinking as well. Patriarch, I know that you're strong. Gu Tongyu hesitated for a moment. However, you might not know what sort of terrifying enemy Zephyr Thunder Palace is facing this time round. Wu Dao's true body said, the supreme true demon Yanzui. Those 2 mentioned it before. No, it's not just Yanzui. Gu Tongyu could sense that Wu Dao's true body did not seem to care about the supreme true demon Yanzui and could not help but feel his heart sink with a bad premonition. The biggest taboo in a fight between cultivators was to underestimate the enemy. Furthermore, their opponent was the supreme true demon. He had witnessed the battle between his palace master and the supreme true demon Yanzui with his own eyes. It was truly earth-shattering and earth-shattering. Without personally witnessing it, one would never be able to understand the terror of such power. Gu Tongyu reminded, Patriarch, in addition to Yanzui, there are 3 other true demons on the true demon list that have already appeared. They are the 4th on the true demon list, Fairy Zihe, the 6th dragon demon, and the 7th demon Bladely Potin. Wu Dao's true body casually responded. Gu Tongyu observed the reaction of Wu Dao's true body as he mentioned the names of these 4 people. Wu Dao's true body was wearing a silver mask and his expression could not be seen. His eyes were also like an ancient well, without the slightest fluctuation. Now, seeing the reaction of Wu Dao's true body, Gu Tongyu guessed that the patriarch of the Heaven Wasteland sect most likely had not heard of these people's fierce names. This was indeed the case. Wu Dao's true body had indeed not heard of them. Gu Tongyu thought for a moment, then explained, Patriarch, just now you've killed 2 true demons. They can only be considered as true demons with lower battle strength in the true first realm. The true first realm is divided into 4 levels: Unity, Sky Human, Void, and Paradise. The fallen Song Yen and Xie Feng are at most true demons of the Sky Human stage, but the 4 on the true demon list are all at the 4th level of the true first realm, peak experts of the Paradise stage. Wu Dao's true body nodded, paused, and said, "To me, there is no difference." Gu Tongyu saw Wu Dao's true body nod and thought that the other party had understood his meaning. In the end, when the last sentence was said, both Gu Tongyu and Qiu Siluo were shocked. The two looked at Wu Dao's true body, dumbfounded. They had seen arrogant people, but they had never seen such an arrogant person. Moreover, the patriarch of the Heaven Wasteland sect said it so casually, as if it was true. If they had not seen the terrifying means of a supreme true demon, the two almost believed it. Chapter 2369. Qiu Siluo frowned slightly, pondered for a moment, and asked, "Patriarch, may I ask what your cultivation realm is?" The two of them couldn't see the cultivation realm of Wu Dao's original body. If the other party was a Grotto Heaven Realm Demon King, then their worries were completely unnecessary. It should be the True One realm. Wu Dao's original body said, "But I haven't passed the tribulation yet." Gu Tongyu and Qiu Siluo were stunned again, dumbfounded. There was too much information in this sentence, and the two of them couldn't digest it for a while. Normally, when a cultivator stepped into the True One realm and condensed a Dao fruit, they would inevitably attract a heavenly tribulation. But what did the patriarch of the Heaven Baron sect mean by not passing the tribulation? Could it be that he had some means to deceive the heavens and hide from the secrets of heaven? Moreover, if he didn't pass the tribulation, he couldn't be considered to have stepped into the True One realm. The process of passing the tribulation was not only to resist the tribulation, but also to use the tribulation to temper the body and blood, cleanse the Tao, and condense the vital essence. How could he not pass the tribulation? Even if he passed the tribulation now, the cultivation realm of the Patriarch of the Heaven Baron sect was only at the consolidation realm of the True One realm. How could he fight with the experts on the True Demon ranking? Qiu Siluo looked a little embarrassed, but he smiled politely and said, "Patriarch, about the current situation of the Zephyr Thunder Palace, maybe we didn't explain it clearly before. This time, 18 Earth-level sects have joined forces to form 18 demon armies, led by the supreme true demon Yanzai, Zai Fairy, Dragon Demon, and Lipadian. There are about 200,000 people. Not counting the Earth Immortals and Sky Immortals, there are hundreds of true demon experts." Wu Dao's original body responded. Qiu Siluo looked at him as he spoke, and Wu Dao's original body couldn't keep silent, so he casually responded. Qiu Siluo continued, "In addition to the 18 demon armies, there are actually other large and small sects and forces that are also involved, more than 100. The 18 demon armies, together with these sects and forces, there are more than 1 million demonic cultivators besieging the Zephyr Thunder Palace." Qiu Siluo tried his best to describe the situation that the Zephyr Thunder Palace was facing this time, but Wu Dao's original body always had the same expression, as if he didn't care. An army of 1 million demons encircled the Zephyr Thunder Palace. Under the orders of the Supreme True Demon, who could stop them? Wherever the army's iron hooves passed, not a single blade of grass remained. Not even chickens or dogs were spared. Realizing that, the Hall Master had ordered the cultivators of the Zephyr Thunder Palace to split up and escape. And now, the Patriarch of the Heaven Wasteland sect wanted to bring 3 or 4 people to the Zephyr Thunder Palace. This was simply throwing an egg at a rock and courting death. "Let's go." Wu Dao's main body looked at Yan Beichen, Ming Zhen, and Tian Lang and said, "Just the 4 of us." Gu Tongyu and the other 2 felt powerless. They had said so much, but they couldn't change the Patriarch's decision. Wu Dao's main body said, "It'll be inconvenient if we bring too many people." Gu Tongyu and Qiu Siluo didn't understand what he meant and looked confused. However, they didn't have the energy to think too deeply. Every word and action of the Patriarch of the Heaven Wasteland sect was unfathomable and unfathomable. "Are we leaving now?" Gu Tongyu was a little unsure, so he asked. Wu Dao's main body nodded. Qiu Siluo couldn't help but remind, Patriarch, why don't you transcend the tribulation first? Wu Dao's main body said, there's no hurry. Qiu Siluo. Gu Tongyu. Since then, the two decided to remain silent and stop persuading him. The few of them walked out of the main hall. Tian Lang seemed to have thought of something and came up to him again. He licked his big face and asked, Master, look at my aptitude. Which title of the 7 emotions demon generals is suitable for me? Since Yan Beichen and Ming Zhen were among the 7 emotions demon generals, they wouldn't listen to his command. Since that was the case, he might as well join them. He could almost imagine that the 7 emotions demon generals would definitely make a name for themselves in the demon domain in the future. He had to occupy a position in advance. Wu Dao's main body glanced at him and said, You're not qualified. Tian Lang was just about to curse, but when he remembered that he was facing Wu Dao's main body, he hurriedly shut his mouth and almost fainted. How am I not qualified? Tian Lang complained unhappily. Can you beat them? Them that Wu Dao's main body was talking about were Yan Beichen and Ming Zhen. Tian Lang had just suffered a setback from Ming Zhen, so he didn't have the slightest chance of winning against Yan Beichen. In comparison, he was indeed not as good as Yan Beichen and Ming Zhen. Now that the Patriarch is yours and I have nothing, you have to arrange an identity for me. Tian Lang continued, It's best if your status isn't low. You have to be loud and awe-inspiring so that you can do whatever you want outside. Wu Dao's main body pondered for a moment. I still lack a mount. Tian Lang resisted the urge to curse with a bitter expression. However, after leaving Heaven Baron sect, Tian Lang reverted to his true form and arrived beside Wu Dao's main body. Including Tian Lang, Wu Dao's main body and the group of 6 arrived at the teleportation formation of Heaven Baron sect before long and teleported away to the central plains of the demon domain. The central plains of the demon domain. With the tree of immortality as the center, it spread out endlessly, forming a vast territory. The tree of immortality was a sacred tree of the demon domain. Because of the undying tree, the central plains was filled with slaughter. Countless sects and factions fought each other here, causing a rain of blood to break out. It was unknown how many powerful beings were buried in this territory. Due to the fact that too many cultivators had died in this territory, the land had even been dyed red with blood. No matter which corner of the demon domain one set off from, the moment one saw the red land in the middle of the demon domain, it meant that they had entered the central plains. Zephyr Thunder Palace. This was a sect that had risen abruptly in the central plains of the demon domain for thousands of years. Due to the powerful combat strength of the palace master, Feng Kentian, who was almost invincible among his peers, the sect developed extremely rapidly. However, the ideology of Zephyr Thunder Palace was incompatible with the various sects around the demon domain. Zephyr Thunder Palace treated all cultivators and living beings of the upper and lower worlds equally. To most cultivators of the demon domain, this was simply heresy. Be it the 9 heavens immortal domain or the demon domain, they all believed that the strong were respected. In the demon domain, this ideology was even more extreme. Cultivators and living beings of the lower worlds were born to be enslaved and inferior. They were born to be servants. Of course, there were also some people in the demon domain who yearned for the ideology of Zephyr Thunder Palace. Gu Tongyu and Qiu Siluo were 2 of them. However, as Zephyr Thunder Palace continued to develop and grow, it was inevitable that it would come into contact with the surrounding sects and forces, and the conflict gradually deepened. At first, the various forces were afraid of the strength of the palace master of Zephyr Thunder Palace and did not dare to rashly attack. Later, when they learned that the palace master of Zephyr Thunder Palace came from the divine firmament immortal domain, they instantly broke the balance and caused the demons of the central plains to suppress them. The supreme true demon, Yan Zui, appeared and killed his way to Zephyr Thunder Palace alone, erupting into a great battle with Feng Kentian. This battle exceeded everyone's expectations. Both sides fought to a draw, and Yan Zui returned empty-handed. After that, Yenzue raised his arm and called for Fairy Zai, Dragon Demon, and Demonic Saber Lipadian to respond. They gathered 18 demon armies and hundreds of sects and forces of various sizes to form an army of millions of demon cultivators to attack Zephyr Thunder Palace. Chapter 2370. The Middle Lands of the Demon Region. The Zephyr Thunder Palace, an Earth-rank sect that had risen rapidly in the past few thousand years, was now on the verge of collapse. To the Demon Region, this wasn't a big deal. Especially in the Middle Lands that was covered in blood, who knew how many sects like the Zephyr Thunder Palace had disappeared in the river of time and were gradually forgotten by people. The territory that the Zephyr Thunder Palace once controlled had been completely conquered by the 18 demon armies. Now, only the Zephyr Thunder Palace was left. This palace was on the verge of collapse, and it was extremely dilapidated. However, even after a day of continuous attacks by the Million Demon Army, they still couldn't take it down. This was because there was a final figure standing on top of this palace. The Thunder Emperor, Feng Kentian. Around the palace, there were piles of corpses that were like small blood-colored mountains. There were at least tens of thousands of them. Among these corpses, there were Earth Immortals, Sky Immortals, and even true demon experts. Feng Kentian stood on top of the palace, his body covered in wounds and blood. However, his body was tall and straight, just like the frightening evil spear beside him, standing firm. The sun was setting in the west. The afterglow of the setting sun shone on the dilapidated palace, on the surrounding corpses, and on Feng Santian's body, drawing out a long blood-colored figure that looked lonely and tragic. The gradually setting sun seemed to indicate that the fate of the Zephyr Thunder Palace and Feng Kentian had come to an end. Drip, drip. The blood on Feng Santian's body couldn't stop flowing, dripping onto the palace and emitting a soft sound. That tattered body appeared to be in such a state of disrepair and weakness. However, the surrounding Million Demon Army didn't dare to rashly step forward. Even the millions of true demon experts didn't dare to act rashly. Those who acted rashly had already fallen in front of the Zephyr Thunder Palace, becoming cold corpses. Other than Yenzhe, Fairy Zai, Dragon Demon, and Demonic Blade Lipadian, no other true demon could block Feng Santian's attack. At this moment, there was a commotion among the Million Demon Army. For figures flew through the air, their auras powerful. They stood in 4 different directions, surrounding the Zephyr Thunder Palace. The 4 true demons on the true demon ranking had appeared at the same time. Feng Kentian, submit. My patience is limited. The person who spoke wore a black robe. His countenance was pale, and one of his eyes was black while the other was white. He was strange and terrifying, and his surroundings were suffused with an aura that caused others to tremble in fear. This person was the supreme true devil, Yenzhe. It was said that Yenzue had received the inheritance of the King of Hell, and when he was just born, he was accompanied by strange phenomena. When Yenzue was born, he didn't cry or make a fuss. He was born with yin-yang eyes, which could illuminate heaven and earth and subdue ghosts. Feng Kentian was disdainful and retorted, "With just you?" An abnormally tall and sturdy man suddenly opened his mouth and said in a deep voice, "Feng Kentian, do you really think that if the 4 of us went all out, you would be able to survive until now?" This man was about 30 to 40 feet tall and his neck was covered in golden scales. His voice boomed like thunder. He was the 6th on the true demon list, Dragon Demon. "You can go all out." Feng Kentian coldly said, "However, before I die, I will definitely drag one of you down with me." The 4 of them were expressionless and did not make a sound. Feng Kentian indeed had the ability to do so. If they wanted to kill a supreme true immortal, they would have to pay a heavy price. When the 4 of them surrounded Feng Kentian, they didn't dare to go all out because they were afraid of Feng Kentian's final struggle. Feng Kentian, if you were at your peak state, you would indeed have the ability to fight back. Demonic Blade Lipadian carried a pitch-black long blade and shook his head. "However, your blood chi has declined greatly and you are heavily injured. Your battle strength is not even 50% of your peak state, and you still want to kill us?" Why don't you try? Fong Cantillon slightly raised his eyebrows and killing intent burst out from his eyes. The frightened evil spear beside him seemed to have sensed its owner's determination and started to vibrate. A beautiful woman in purple laughed lightly and said, "Boss Yen, don't think about subduing him. This person is too stubborn, just kill him." "Hurry up, I haven't eaten for many days, I'm hungry." This woman in purple was the fourth on the true demon list, Fairy Zai. Fairy Zai was extremely beautiful. Her skin was as white as jade, and her every frown and smile could cause ripples in one's heart. However, the millions of demons present looked at Fairy Zai with an inexplicable fear in their eyes. Fong Cantillon's eyes were like lightning. Although his body was in tatters, his majesty didn't decrease. He shouted, "Old witch, you have no humanity, you are cruel and vicious. I will kill you next." "What did you call me?" Fairy Zai's eyes turned cold. Fong Cantillon said coldly, "Old witch, your face is already full of wrinkles and you are in your twilight years. You only rely on your evil secret technique to eat a purple placenta every day to maintain your youth. All these years, I don't know how many innocent women have died in your hands. I don't know how many children have been killed by you before they were even born. Even if I cut you into 1,000 pieces, it wouldn't be too much." The purple placenta was a woman's placenta. Fairy Zai looked young and beautiful, but she was already an old woman. However, she would find pregnant girls every day and kill them. She would remove the placenta and eat it, using a secret technique to maintain her youth and condense her blood qi. If a fetus lost its placenta, it would die not long after. Even if she only ate it once a day, the number of girls and fetuses that had died in her hands for hundreds of thousands of years was terrifying. Fong Cantillon stared at Fairy Zai and pulled out the frightening evil spear beside him. He attacked first and stabbed through the void. Yen Zui shouted coldly. A huge bloody iron chain appeared in Yen Zui's hand. Black qi filled the air as it pierced through the air and wrapped around the frightening evil spear, trapping it. Dragon Demon roared and activated his bloodline. His body grew to 10 feet tall and transformed into a half-dragon half-human form. He waved his dragon claws and attacked Fong Cantillon. Sush! Li Patin slashed down with his saber, as if he was going to tear the heavens and earth apart. "Fairy Z!" he screamed and pointed at Fong Cantillon. A purple river with a fishy smell surged forward. There were countless ladies and unformed ghost babies floating in it. Bang! 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 Fong Cantillon continuously unleashed his secret techniques and clashed with the 4 true demons, causing a series of earth-shattering noises to ring out. A figure fell into the main hall. Puff! Fong Cantillon spat out a mouthful of blood and his face was pale. He could only rely on the frightening evil spear to barely remain standing. His body was still stained with the purple river's dirty water. His flesh was constantly corroding, and there were several ghost babies hanging on his body, biting his bones and tendons. Hee. Demonic Blade Lipatian was relieved and sneered, "I was wondering what other tricks you had up your sleeves. You're already at the end of your rope, unable to withstand a single blow. Fong Cantillon, I'll give you one last chance." Yen Zui said in a low voice, "Surrender immediately and I'll spare your life." Ha! Fong Cantillon was not afraid at all. He laughed heartily and said, "Even if I, Fong Cantillon, die in battle, I won't live." Back in the divine firmament immortal realm, he had faced a strong enemy that was 100 times stronger than the supreme true demon in front of him, but he had never surrendered. How could he retreat when faced with everything in front of him? Yen Zui's eyes were cold. He no longer suppressed the killing intent in his heart and said slowly, "Since you want to die, I'll fulfill your wish." At this moment, a voice came from the distant sky. "With me here today, he won't die." Chapter 2371. When this voice was first heard, it was still far away in the sky. When the last word was said, a few figures had already arrived. They passed by the Million Demon Army and headed toward the Zephyr Thunder Palace. "Who is it?" A few true demon experts stood out and shouted. Let them come. Yen Zui waved his hand and looked at the newcomers calmly. Among them, there was a man and a woman who were originally from the Zephyr Thunder Palace. They had already escaped and now returned. The remaining man in a black robe and a young monk were only low-level heaven immortals. They were nothing to be afraid of. Only the man in a purple robe riding the moon-swallowing heavenly wolf was wearing a silver mask. His cultivation could not be detected and he looked unfathomable. Why are you back? Feng Cantillon looked at Gu Tongyu and Qiu Siluo and asked with a frown. Palace Master, we found a few helpers. They're here. Qiu Siluo glanced at Wu Dao's original body and felt guilty. He could not believe it himself and his voice became softer and softer. Including the heavenly wolf, they only had 6 people. The other party had 1,000,000 demon army. The difference was too great. Feng Santian's gaze swept past Wu Dao's original body, Yan Beichen, and Ming Zhen. He sighed in his heart. This was nonsense. Not only would he die today, but these people would also die for nothing. Senior Thunder Emperor. Yan Beichen drew his Keidu saber and held it in front of his chest. He said in a deep voice, I'm Yan Beichen, also from Tianhuang region. Today, I'm here to fight alongside you. I'm Ming Zhen, from Tianhuang region. I'm willing to fight alongside the Thunder Emperor. Ming Zhen held a string of prayer beads in his left hand and the demon-subduing pestle left by Emperor Ananda in his right. He looked calm and fearless. So you're from Tianhuang region? Feng Cantillon was both regretful and excited. He clenched his fists and said, Good, good, good. I didn't expect to be able to join forces with someone from Tianhuang region in the upper world. I have no regrets even if I die. Today, we'll go all out and kill them to our heart's content. Palace Master, this is the Patriarch of Tianhuang region sect. Gu Tongyu pointed at Wu Dao and said. Feng Cantillon nodded and said, Since you established the Heaven Wasteland sect, you must be someone from Heaven Wasteland. Senior Thunder Emperor, I am Araki Takashi. Wu Dao said. Araki Takashi? Feng Cantillon frowned slightly. He felt that this name was familiar, as if he had heard it somewhere before. However, the situation was critical, and he didn't have the time to think too much about it. As long as I'm here today, he won't die. Who said that? Yen Zui asked as he stared at Wu Dao's true body. Among the few people who came later, only the purple-robed cultivator was unfathomable. If he wasn't mistaken, the person who just now said those words should be this person. Yen Zui couldn't see through Wu Dao's real body, and neither could Fairy Zai and the other two, so they didn't act rashly. Instead, they remained vigilant. With the current situation, it was almost impossible to protect Feng Cantillon, unless the person who came was a demon king. Normally speaking, experts at the level of a demon king wouldn't interfere in the battle between Earth sects. However, Fairy Zai and the others couldn't see through Wu Dao's true body, so they weren't confident. I said it. Wu Dao's true body replied. Yen Zui chuckled and said, There are 4 experts on the true demon ranking here, hundreds of true demon experts, and millions of demon soldiers. With such a formation, no one can stop them unless it's an expert at the Grotto Heaven realm or above. After a pause, Yen Zui narrowed his eyes and asked, What's your cultivation? Fairy Zai and the others' expressions changed, and they listened attentively. Wu Dao's true body raised his head slightly and looked at the sky. No one knew what he was looking at, as if he was daydreaming. He didn't answer. Yen Zui sneered in his heart. He had already made a judgment and said slowly, Your secret technique to hide your cultivation is indeed brilliant, but if I'm not wrong, your cultivation should be at the true first realm. Wu Dao's true body remained silent, as if he couldn't be bothered with Yen Zui. Why do you say that? Dragon Demon asked in a muffled voice. Yen Zui said confidently, Firstly, as far as I can remember, none of the devil kings in the devil domain wore this kind of silver mask. Second, demon kings won't easily interfere in the battle between Earth sects. Third, Feng Cantillon came from the divine firmament celestial realm and has only been here for a few thousand years. It's very difficult for him to establish a relationship with a demon king from the demon domain. Fourth, Since this person also came from Tianhuang and called Feng Cantian Sr., it means that this person is Feng Santian's Jr. Even Feng Cantian hasn't reached the Grotto Heaven realm, so it's very difficult for this person to reach it. Fairy Zai and the others' eyes lit up when they heard these 4 points, and they nodded. Yen Zui pointed at Sky Wolf and continued, "Fifth, and the most important point, this purple-robed man's mount is only a rank 4 heavenly immortal. If this person is a demon king, his mount's cultivation can't be so low." Dragon Demon nodded and said, "That's right." "That's right." Demon Blade Li Patian also praised, "Brother Yen, I'm impressed." Gu Tongyu saw that Wu Dao's cultivation could no longer be concealed, so he hurriedly said to Feng Cantian, "Palace Master, among us, only the Tianhuang sect's patriarch can be considered a true First Realm expert. He's not weak. He once killed Song Yen and Xie Feng, 2 true demon experts, and saved us." "Oh." Yen Zui raised his eyebrows slightly and said mockingly, "So he can kill Song Yen and Xie Feng. How powerful." Feng Cantian came to Wu Dao's side and said in a deep voice, "Brother Araki Takashi, I'll block Yen Zui, Fairy Zai, Dragon Demon, and Li Patian. I'll leave the remaining true demons to you." In fact, any one of these 4 true demons was more terrifying than the remaining hundreds of true demons working together. Feng Cantian was worried that the Tianhuang sect's patriarch wouldn't be able to block the experts on the true demon ranking, so he made this arrangement. Of course, he wouldn't be able to block them either. This kind of decision could only delay them for a while. No need to go through so much trouble. Wu Dao's main body shook his head slightly. His glabella flashed as he took out the prison's suppressing cauldron. With a thought from Wu Dao's main body, the prison's suppressing cauldron expanded and floated in the air. "You guys go hide under this cauldron." Wu Dao's main body pointed at the prison's suppressing cauldron in the air and said, "What do you mean?" Feng Cantian, Gu Tongyu, and the others were confused. Even Yen Zui and the others were a little confused. They didn't know what the Tianhuang sect's patriarch was talking about. Wu Dao's main body moved and floated down from the Sky Wolf. He pointed at the sky and said indifferently, "The sky is about to change." As soon as his voice fell, everyone suddenly felt a large shadow above their heads. In the blink of an eye, strong winds blew and the sky darkened. Rumble! Everyone raised their heads to look. Dark clouds covered the sky. They were as black as ink. Thick clouds constantly rolled and surged, emitting a huge pressure that enveloped the million true demons. Chapter 2372. Truth 1 Heavenly Tribulation. The expressions of Yen Zui and the others changed drastically as looks of disbelief appeared on their faces. Even Feng Cantian, Gu Tongyu, and the others were shocked. They didn't expect Wu Dao's real body to attract a heavenly tribulation at this time. Since ancient times, heavenly tribulation was a matter of life and death. It was extremely dangerous. One would either find a secluded and desolate place or be guarded by experts of the sect or family, who would go through a heavenly tribulation in a crowd. This was simply courting death. The more cultivators there were, the larger the range of the heavenly tribulation. The power of the heavenly tribulation would also increase. Now that millions of demons were here, the heavenly tribulation of innate one that was triggered was unimaginable. Haha. Dragon Demon laughed. "So you haven't gone through a heavenly tribulation yet. You're not even a true demon. Are you going to use the Truth 1 Heavenly Tribulation to kill us?" We're all at the peak of the Truth 1 realm. The Truth 1 Heavenly Tribulation is no threat to us. Demonic Blade Li Patian also chuckled. "What are you laughing at?" Yen Zui glared at the two coldly. "We can block the Truth 1 Heavenly Tribulation, but what about the millions of demons around us?" Dragon Demon and the others were shocked. They finally realized the terrible consequences of this matter. In the sky, the heavenly tribulation clouds covered thousands of miles. It was obvious that the heavenly tribulation army was shrouded in them. Although the heavenly tribulation army was powerful, they were all earth immortals and sky immortals. Even level 9 sky immortals couldn't block the truth one heavenly tribulation. The heavenly tribulation army also realized the impending disaster. The demons looked up at the sky, feeling the terrifying majesty of the heavenly tribulation clouds. They were uneasy and uncertain. "What are you waiting for?" Dragon Demon roared. The heavenly tribulation army scattered and ran outside. Every cultivator used all their movement divine abilities, wanting to leave this place as quickly as possible. But even with teleportation, they were only a few hundred feet away. The heavenly tribulation clouds above the heavenly tribulation army covered the sky. It was almost impossible to escape. Tian Lang was the first to react. He hurried Yen Beichen, Mingjin, and the others to the health-suppressing cauldron. Their cultivations hadn't reached the True One realm, so they couldn't withstand the impact of the True One heavenly tribulation. Yen Beichen and the others also realized that this was no small matter. They didn't dare to be careless and hurried to the suppressing hell cauldron. It was only now that Gu Tongyu and Qiu Siluo understood what Wu Dao's true body had said before, which seemed to be nonsense. Qiu Siluo was speechless. No wonder Patriarch Araki Takashi said that it would be inconvenient to bring more people. Under the control of Wu Dao's main body, the prison's suppressing cauldron was slightly larger, but the area it could cover was not very large. 10 people would not be a problem. If he brought too many people with him, they would easily become a burden. The heavenly tribulation of Truth One didn't have its own consciousness, nor did it know which side the cultivators below belonged to. Once the heavenly tribulation descended, it would attack indiscriminately, and no one would be able to escape. I wonder if the revered cauldron can withstand the heavenly tribulation of Truth One. Gu Tongyu looked at the prison's suppressing hell cauldron above his head and muttered softly. Sky Wolf rolled his eyes and patted his shoulder. Don't worry, if this thing can't block it, I'm afraid no other weapon in the world can. The tribulation clouds in the sky became denser and began to rotate continuously, forming a huge tribulation cloud vortex. Red lightning was faintly discernible inside. Finally, the first heavenly tribulation descended. Wu Dao's true body's position was directly facing the center of the tribulation cloud vortex. The power of this heavenly tribulation was also the most terrifying. A crimson lightning as thick as an adult's arm descended vertically and smashed onto the head of Wu Dao's true body. Wu Dao's true body stood motionless. He didn't even raise his hand, and just like that, he endured the first heavenly tribulation. At the same time, dense crimson lightning fell from the tribulation cloud. There were millions of them, and they poured down like a torrential rain. The lightning was as dense as a rainstorm. This scene was too shocking. Below the prison-suppressing cauldron, Sky Wolf, Gu Tongyu, and the others widened their eyes in shock. In their eyes, the thousands of miles of land in front of them had become a sea of crimson lightning. The millions of demonic soldiers were all trapped in it, and no one was spared. The army of millions of demonic soldiers was so powerful and difficult to reach, but in front of this heavenly tribulation, they were so small and vulnerable. The power of the heavenly tribulation was a devastating disaster for Earth immortals and Sky immortals. The scene before them was like the wrath of the heavens, and lightning struck down. In an instant, countless demonic cultivators were turned into ashes, their bodies and Tao vanishing. Among the millions of demonic soldiers, there were very few top Sky immortals. They relied on all kinds of trump cards, divine arts, dharma treasures, and talismans to barely survive the first heavenly tribulation. But all the Earth immortals were turned into ashes by the first heavenly tribulation. No one was spared. Not a trace of bloodline, not even a bone was left. They were all wiped out from this land. Most of the Sky immortals couldn't withstand it either. They were blown into pieces, and their primordial spirits were destroyed. Thousands of miles of land with the Wind and Thunder Palace as the center was covered with corpses and blood. It was like purgatory on Earth. Yenze, Fairy Zai, the Dragon Demon, and Li Padian, the 4 true demons, were both shocked and angry. They looked around, but they couldn't see a single living person. It was too cruel. Hundreds of true demons were shocked. They felt their hands and feet turn cold. Although they were still alive, the 18 demonic armies and millions of demonic soldiers they brought with them were all wiped out in the blink of an eye. This was an unimaginable blow to the hearts of everyone present. Under the prison-suppressing cauldron, Chio Siluo took a deep breath and tried to calm himself down. He said in a trembling voice, "No wonder Patriarch Araki Takashi didn't rush to go through the heavenly tribulation. He did such a crazy thing." Sky Wolf also said with lingering fear, "This guy is crazy. He can do anything." Back then, when Wu Dao's original body decided to go to Avicii for Yen Baichen, he realized it. Feng Kentian was a true immortal after all. Although he was seriously injured, he didn't hide under the prison-suppressing cauldron. Even though he had seen countless storms and waves, when he saw the scene just now, his mind was still greatly shaken. "Kill him!" Yen Zue roared and immediately attacked. If they could kill Wu Dao's original body as soon as possible, the heavenly tribulation would naturally end. Hundreds of true demons released their blood qi without holding back. In their sea of consciousness, the Dao fruit shone brightly, and a halo appeared behind their heads. Boom, boom, boom. Hundreds of true demons activated their true essence and released one divine ability after another. Bush, bush, bush. Thousands of spiritual Dharma treasures flew through the air, forming an inescapable net that enveloped everything. Bush. Yen Zue used the bloodstained chain in his hand to wrap around Wu Dao's original body. There was a clanging sound from the chain, and sharp barbs popped out, flashing with cold light. Fairy Zai took out the Xian Yin Mother-Child banner. The purple banner unfolded, and countless ghost babies appeared on it, as well as many fierce female ghost faces. It was a breathtaking sight. The dragon demon roared and transformed into a half-dragon half-human form, charging toward Wu Dao's original body. Li Patin held his saber with both hands, and his eyes were deep. He slashed toward Wu Dao's original body, and black qi surged, and a murderous aura filled the sky. The four powerhouses on the true demon ranking and hundreds of true demons attacked Wu Dao's original body at almost the same time, wanting to kill him in an instant. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.